It's America's home for political play-by-play. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, August 26, 2026. This is the Owen Report, your home for political play-by-play. The fastest 3 hours on the internet starts now. We've got a loaded show. We got two guests joining us today. We're going to be joined by Valhalla VHT. Been trying to make that connection for a bit. Well, it happens today. Looking forward to that in the second hour. And then David Pollock, host of OAN's David Pollock Primetime, joining me in the third hour. So we got a couple guests going to be joining the show today. We do have a stack of news. Of course we have a stack of news. What else would I do? What else would I be without a stack of news? Now, I was wondering where I wanted to begin, and originally I was going to start on some of the latest signs and indicators of where the Trump administration is at and how they're running this game again. It's Groundhog Day. It's play the hits. They're running the same thing again. And I guess what's amazing about it is the MAGA supporters, the Trump supporters, it's like they have no memory. It's like, don't you guys remember you just played this game last month? Don't you remember you were posting the same thing a month ago with the same level of hype and the same level of excitement and nothing happened? Do you not remember that? It just happened. So we're like living this Groundhog's Day, but nobody else is experiencing it? So I was going to start the show with that, and I've got a whole stack of that. I got some geopolitics. I got some flock. I got some data centers. And then there's this Meta story. And it's turned into just like a pure headline. Meta pays $17 billion, and you can look at where this settlement is going. And, of course, Meta, with this settlement, says they are not taking any responsibilities. Of course not. They're taking no responsibilities. And quite frankly, why should they? Why should they take any responsibilities? Hey, I get it. I don't like big tech. I don't like Mark Zuckerberg. Part of me thinks Mark Zuckerberg might already be brain chipped. I wouldn't be shocked one bit if Zuckerberg already has a chip in his brain. So it's just this pure headline, $17 billion, child health endangerment, Meta settles, and they bear no responsibility, but they're going to settle. And then we're going to sit here and we're going to make a bunch of arbitrary rules about kids and social media. So it becomes this pure headline pump. And I guess in some way, shape, or form, there's a bit of a relief that big tech is being forced to pay, I guess is how I would say that. There's a bit of a, you kind of get a rise out of that, sticking it to big tech, sticking it to Zuckerberg. It's kind of like, okay, you like to see that. But what's the real story? When you look into this, it's a clown show. It's a shakedown. And I'm going to sit here and we'll watch these people talk about child safety and child health. And they're coming up with all these different, 2 hours a day and all this garbage. It's totally meaningless. They shook Zuckerberg down. They don't give a damn about the kids. Are you kidding me? And where are the parents in all of this? Since when is Mark Zuckerberg responsible for your child? The whole thing is a damn clown show. So I'm going to really take some time to focus on that when we come back and start the actual content of today's show. And I'm going to go I'm going to read through the stories, give you all the different details, and then we'll kind of go back and look at how this whole thing is just a clown show. It's just, the whole thing is just a clown show. But hey, nice to know, I guess, that Meta, what was their bottom line on their virtual reality project? What was that thing called? I don't even remember what it was called. What did they take, like $1 billion hit on that? Hey, chump change, Jack. Chump change. Now they got $17 billion to settle this lawsuit. So we'll take a look at all that. But yeah, I mean, it's the same stuff. Groundhog's Day out of the Trump administration. Most of the same stuff in the news. Getting a little redundant here, aren't we, in the news? So that's why we got a couple guests. That's why we got a couple guests today. We'll be hashing it out with them. So all of that and more coming up on today's Owen Report. Brought to you by the official energy drink of the Owen Report, Crash Out Energy. Get yours today at crashout.energy. Here's why I formulated it. Yes, I formulated it. I've got my mug of Crash Out Energy right here next to me. I formulated this because I was drinking energy drinks every day before I went on air. I wanted to make sure I had enough energy for 3 hours of a live transmission. I was chasing that down with the different nootropics for mental focus, mental energy, mental clarity. And I was doing this every day. I was doing this every day before the show. And it just hit me one day. You don't want to drink these energy drinks every day the rest of your life. All right, we all like getting energy, but, I think we know that most of these things are pretty unhealthy for you, pretty bad for you. There's definitely ingredients in there that are not good to be consuming every day. So I said, why don't I make an energy drink that gives me 200 milligrams of caffeine, also has the nootropics for mental focus, get rid of the bad ingredients, put in some good ingredients. Why don't I just do that? So I did it. It's Crash Out Energy, the official energy drink of the Owen Report. And I have to say, I'm very happy to see all the repeat customers. That means a lot because that means that you like it. A lot of repeat customers coming back to get more at crashout.energy. Get yours today, the official energy drink of the Owen Report, crashout.energy.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Guys, I want to dig into this meta story here today. I'm sure you've heard about this. Meta settles social media addiction case with California and other states for $16.7 billion. By the way, wasn't it Sean Parker? I can't remember. Was Sean Parker with Facebook or Google? You may recall the Sean Parker story. He came out like 10 years ago and talked about how they were making it addicting intentionally. So there's already these claims. There's already this knowledge that they're doing it. By the way, I think it's also worth mentioning, X is probably the most guilty of this today. Maybe Instagram. Now, when it comes to the issues with child health, I guess that's a different story. I don't want to get too far ahead of this because I want to just go through the details and then kind of go back and just look at what a clown case this is, because it is a clown case. And don't get me wrong, I got the same guilty pleasure as everybody else here. Hey, screw Meta, screw big tech, screw Mark Zuckerberg. I'm okay with that. Yeah, it's, stick it in there and, wiggle it around a little bit, twist it up. I get it. I have the guilty pleasure too. Screw all of them. Screw Zuckerberg, screw Meta. Okay, but aside from that, what does this case really represent? It's a damn clown show. This thing is a clown show. And it's such an indicator of where we're at in the media. It's such an indicator of where we're at as far as justice, as far as politics is concerned. This case really has it all. Meta settles social media addiction case with California and other states for $16.7 billion. Meta, parent company of Facebook and Instagram, and a coalition of state attorneys general have settled a major federal case centering on allegations that the social media giant misrepresented the extent of child-related mental health harms caused by apps like Facebook and Instagram. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through this. So let me just pause. Let me just do this. Let me do it like this. So right out of the gates, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, wherever these social media apps are at with these kids, and they say that Meta misrepresented the extent of child-related mental health harms. Okay. So that's the standard here. So why is it that this same logic doesn't apply to big pharmaceutical companies that produce pills and vaccines where they also lie about the harms? Why is that? Why doesn't this logic apply anywhere else? I don't know how many kids, I don't know what their claim here is as far as, are kids committing suicide? Can they point to any evidence that it's social media like Facebook or Instagram leading to this? And at the end of the day, who's responsible for what children are consuming? Is it Meta? Is it Mark Zuckerberg? Is it the parents? Should parents be fined if they let their kids use social media apps that do damage to their minds, their brains? To me, there's just no consistency here. There's no consistency when it comes to justice. There's no consistency when it comes to logic. How is it that you can say to Meta, you owe tens of billions of dollars for child-related mental health harms, but you can't say the same thing to any of the pill manufacturers? You can't say the same thing to any of the vaccine manufacturers? Should I even get started on trans kid surgery? Do we even want to go there? The case, brought by a group of 29 states, was co-led by California Attorney General Rob Bonta and attorney generals from Colorado, New Jersey, and Kentucky. Meta will pay a maximum of $16.7 billion. Boy, they got money. This is the settlement. This is what they agreed to. Now, you have to admit, it is odd that Meta would want to settle. I can only assume two things based off of the settlement here. Either Meta has so much money that they're just like, you know what? I'm willing to pay $17 billion to get rid of a headache. That's how much money Meta has. That's like you going down to the local pharmacy and picking up some Advil or something. For them, it's just, you know what? I got to get rid of this headache. Somebody go buy me some Advil. How much is that Advil? $17 billion, sir. Yeah, all right. So they have so much damn money that they can just pay $17 billion to rid themselves of this headache, or they didn't like the direction that this case was going, and so they decided if this thing continues, it's going to make them look even worse. So they paid $17 billion as essentially a silencing effort. as we got to keep whatever's about to come out. We got to stop this thing now. Stop this deal in its tracks. It's a cover-up. It's a cover-up. Now, think about this from the attorneys general perspective, because now I'm looking at this like a shakedown. Am I going to complain that Mark Zuckerberg is getting shut down? I mean, I'm not really so inclined to, but I just call it as I see it. This is a shakedown. If you really care, what are we even talking about here? Do you really care about these kids? Because here's how I interpret this. If you're serious, if you're bringing this case, and you're serious about protecting children, and you think you've got this massive case, which, I mean, $17 billion, all right. Explain to me how Meta is not shut down today. How about that one? If Meta is out here knowingly doing harm to children, if Meta is out here knowingly lying to the parents about their products, why is Meta not shut down? Because it was a shakedown. The attorneys don't care. The states don't care. Nobody actually cares. Nobody cares about the kids. This isn't some virtue signaling act that I'm doing. I'm just looking at this case and saying, hey, what are we thinking here? If you really believe Meta is a threat to children, why aren't you shutting it down? Why are you letting them cut you a check and say, go on? Oh, because we have these arbitrary rules now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with bank account and routing numbers, I'm sure, huh? Yeah. Give me a break. Give me a break. So all the lawyers, all the different attorneys general and state representatives involved in this deal, they're all shaking hands. Oh, good job, sir. Yes, good job. 17 billion, great job. Oh, yeah. Oh. They're all glad-handing, patting each other on the back. Excuse me, didn't you just bring the case that this company was wittingly damaging children's mental health? Didn't you bring that case? And now you're shaking each other's hands because you're shutting the case down and you made $17 billion? What are we doing here? What are we doing? I just can't take any of this seriously. Here's some of the details. The settlement revealed in a court filing released today details several requirements Meta must make to its apps as part of a proposed consent judgment. Again, since when is Meta the parent? Since when is Mark Zuckerberg responsible for your kids? Again, screw Meta, screw Mark Zuckerberg. Don't get it twisted. To me, this is just who's in charge here? Is it parents or is it the state? Is it parents or is it a social media app? Is it parents or is it Meta and Mark Zuckerberg? Who's in charge here? Oh, my child suffered mental health damage because my child was using Facebook. Well, why did you let your child use Facebook? Well, I didn't know. I didn't know it was so damaging. I didn't know. And then here come the lawyers. Oh my gosh, your child. Your poor child, ma'am. We're going to get him. We're going to get him, ma'am. We're going to shut that company down for the damage they did. And then, oh, here comes the court cases. Just cha-ching, cha-ching. Those changes include daily usage limits. Oh, we're limiting your usage. What does that even mean? So now the government is on your phone? So now Big Brother is on your phone? Sorry, you have finished your allotted time for the day. Hey, you want to argue this is good for children's mental health? Have at it. It's called parenting. See what I mean? It's called parenting. If you want your kid to have a 2-hour limit on its cell phone, tell your child you got a 2-hour limit on the cell phone. It's called parenting. Oh, no, we need the government in there. Now we need the government on all of these apps. This is their in, by the way. This is their in. Now we need the government on all of these apps monitoring the social media activity, monitoring the time that you're spending there. It's all for the kids. It's all for the kids. Oh, yeah, it's all for the kids. It's all for the kids. Ha, give me a break. It's all for the kids. Daily usage limits, nighttime blocks for teenagers who use the company's apps, enhanced age assurance measures that would prevent children from using them, and the creation of additional tools for parents and guardians. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing the same thing. Censorship. I'm hearing the same thing. Big Brother. I'm hearing the same thing. Government backdoors. I'm not liking it. Meta agreed to pay $16.7 billion. Cut a check. What's another $16.7 billion? The state of California could receive $1.5 billion to $2.1 billion. Nice. If the court officially approves the settlement, according to an announcement by California Attorney General Rob Bonta, Texas was not part of the group settlement and agreed to a $1 billion payment separately. Several state attorneys general touted a $17.1 billion settlement amount. That number includes more than $459 million for claims related to the Cambridge Analytica matter, which dates back to 2018 and was separate from the child safety case. This thing might not be done, but this case looks like it's finished. But I wouldn't be surprised now. This is the type of thing where other lawyers look at this and say, where's my in? Where's my in to a new social media company or an existing social media company that's doing harm to its consumers, its users, the children? Where's my settlement? Meta said the agreement, the settlement, includes a payment of approximately $18 billion, which will be distributed in annual installments over a 10-year period. That money will fund various youth online safety initiatives as deemed by the states. Boo! Boo! That's what we need. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Give the kids another course. Oh, my gosh. Please make the kids. Send the kids to another one of these digital classes so they can learn about racism and LGBTQ and how not to drink alcohol and how to put on a condom and now how to use social media. I mean, good God. What are we turning this country into? I can't even imagine what it's like now. What's it like? We got any college kids listening? Do we have any college students tuned in today? What is it like? When I went to my freshman year, you go through orientation and they got to sit you through all the woke garbage. You know how it is. You got a 2-hour course on drugs and alcohol. You got another hour course on sex and relationships. You got another 30 minutes on suicide. Another one on racism, another one on LGBTQ+. All right, you've passed your 5 courses. You can go to college now. Holy smokes, wipe my ass. And now it's social media safety. Social media safety. So where does this all go? There's just totally policing the internet, censoring the internet. The days of the actual internet are like dead. As far as the freedom, the wild, wild west nature, just get on there and go. Now it's, oh, no. We got the government everywhere. We got monitoring everywhere. We got data brokers everywhere. It's all just, now the whole thing is just a big business operation. But hey, we care about the kids. We care about the kids. Huh. Meta. Oh, they're going to pay this over 10 years, going to different states, different groups. I mean, can you imagine this? I mean, just think about this. What was the number they said? Like 500 million. They're going to spend 500 million on these social media digital education services. What does that even mean? So they're going to hire some libtard. You're going to hire some blue-haired libtard with two private parts. And they're going to sit in a room and bring in 30 college kids at a time, bring in 30 high school kids at a time, bring in 30 sixth graders at a time, and sit there and watch them go through this social media safety course. Because we care about the kids. See how much we care? Teen social media addiction. What about all the pills? What about all the pills? Are kids addicted to that? Meta agrees to $17 billion deal, pushing new industry standards on child safety. Thank you, big brother. Yeah, get in there. Protect those children. Meta settlement is a challenge to TikTok and YouTube. Yeah. Now they're all going to be looking at this and trying to get ahead of it, probably. They don't want to be the next $17 billion settlement. I would say there's going to be probably more lawsuits against social media companies. Oh my gosh, my child. What are the different apps? My child is addicted to Snapchat. You owe me $10 billion. Oh. Ma'am, have you tried taking the cell phone from your child? Have you tried to put a limit, a time limit on your child's social media usage? No, that's on the court. That's on the state. That's on the government. Gotcha. I see. I mean, what's to stop anybody? Who's to say anybody can't file a complaint? I'm traumatized. I'm traumatized by X. Oh, the X algorithm is crushing my soul. Don't you guys see? Aha! I'm deeply disturbed and depressed and depraved because of X. What have you done to me, Musk? Look at what you've done to me, Elon Musk. Ah, it's X's fault. I want a settlement. I want $100 million. Sir, do you have any self-control? No, I don't. I spend 20 hours a day on X. They made it addicting, damn it. They made it addicting. It's their fault. Help me, courts. Help me, state. Ah! Damn you, Elon Musk. Damn you. Probably, if that's going to happen, they'll start that deal in California. California's already got beef with Musk. They'd like to settle that dispute with a nice little check, I bet you. And then what? And so is that the precedent now? File a complaint against a social media company because their product is addictive. and then just say, just settle for a couple billion. What's the difference, huh? Come on. This is the new shakedown. This is the new shakedown. So I just think the whole thing is ridiculous. And it keeps going this direction of more internet censorship, more government involvement on the internet, more big brother. We got to get involved in everything. It's not the parents. It's the social media company. And now they're in there. Now they got their in. No, I don't like it one bit. All right, let's get to the Trump stuff. Let's get to the Trump stack now. Now, this is hilarious to me. So, Matt Van Swol, we covered the other day, he went to his first Trump rally, and he was sharing this video, and I was explaining how, and I like Matt, but I was explaining to him how Matt 4 years ago that, this rally would have been 10 times as big and it would have been a lot bigger, but, enjoy. Well, he gets a little love from President Trump today. So this whole thing is wild to me for multiple reasons. First off, let me just say that this represents, even from somebody like Matt Van Swoel, who's a one-time Trump voter, voted for Trump in 2024, former liberal, current MAGA. And even he is now posting this about how this administration is essentially a failure. Now, he's placing the blame on the Republicans. He's placing the blame on the GOP. And maybe that's why Trump shares this post. But here's what's ironic about this. And again, I guess maybe it's worth to say this. I don't know how much value this carries, but, Trump is not sharing these same issues with the people that voted for him 3 times. Trump is now ingratiating himself with all the new come MAGA. Trump is now ingratiating himself with all the people that have joined MAGA most recently, because I guess in his mind, and probably rightfully so, he figures this is the only group of people I can keep. The 3-time Trump voters, they're gone. Anybody that's voted for Trump twice or 3 times, they're probably gone. They're probably done. And he knows he can't go there for love. So he's trying to tap into the one-time Trump voter here, like Matt Van Swoel, who's going through MAGA for the first time. It's kind of his first ride. He's kind of enjoying it. It's better than libs, and okay. But yet he's frustrated. So Matt Van Swoel posts this. And Trump reposted it. Trump posted this on his own Truth Social. And obviously, I'll get to the biggest irony of them all when I read this. And I think you'll catch on pretty quick. I don't think the GOP fully grasp how badly they are fucking up right now. Boy, who does that sound like? I'm talking to people who normally have zero interest in politics, who are legitimately pissed off. Golly gee, where is he getting this? They are not seeing the major reform they thought would happen, and they are really mad about it. Huh. Wow. Unbelievable. Are you hearing this? No true accountability. No mass deportations. No decrease in the deficit. Lots of very long vacations and no work. No bills being passed that reduce the government involvement in their lives. My goodness. I'm hearing this for the first time. I'm very worried the GOP is sleepwalking towards a midterm reckoning they don't see coming. Who doesn't see it coming? We've been calling this out for 16 months. What do we mean we didn't see it coming? We've been seeing this coming for miles. People are pissed off that they voted Trump into office and the GOP continues to slow walk every reform people want. Oh, where are all the DOJ cuts that were promised? Where is the SAVE Act? Why haven't we defunded the Taliban yet? Why are bills passing the House and then disappear in the Senate? Why are the GOP still funding left-wing NGOs that target hate and MAGA Republicans? Why are members of the GOP pushing for mass amnesty instead of mass deportations? Trump's doing that too, by the way. People are waking up and they aren't happy about it. People believe they were voting for the Trump agenda, and instead many feel like they're getting the same old Washington, D.C. If Republicans in Congress don't start producing tangible results, they're going to discover that frustration has consequences. And by the time they realize how deep-seated that frustration is, it may already be too late. Wow. We're hearing all of this for the first time. This is breaking news. Breaking news to this audience. Okay. So this was basically what was considered mainstream if you listen to Owen Schroyer last June. By last June, this was mainstream Owen Schroyer talking points. And you know what happened? You know what happened when Owen Schroyer said this last June? Donald Trump told me to shut the fuck up, and Donald Trump called me a panikin, and Donald Trump says he wants nothing to do with me ahead of the midterms. That's what happened when I said this exact same thing last June. But now Trump all of a sudden wants to share this information. Now Trump all of a sudden wants to post this on his social media. Somebody explain this to me. And of course, what is the admission here? What is the recognition here? The panikins were right, weren't they? Yeah. The panikins were right. And now you guys want to try to play catch up with less than 100 days till the midterms. What are we at now, like 80 days? Let's find out. Let's get a date for you. $69 days. Woo! Whoa! 69 days on a hump day. All right, have a laugh. Oh my goodness. Trump wants to talk about this with 69 days till the midterms. This is crazy to me. This is so crazy to me. And I don't want this to be misinterpreted. It has to be presented this way. But when I would post this exact same stuff, me as a 3-time Trump voter, me as a 3-time sent to prison for Trump, me as a countless sued, I mean, you name it, me with the rap sheet longer than just about anyone else in MAGA. No offense to Matt Van Swool. I like Matt. I think he's a good American. But Matt's MAGA rap sheet is like one page compared to my encyclopedia. And when I'm saying this last June, Trump attacks us. Trump comes after us, says he doesn't want us, calls us names, tells us to shut up. And now he's posting this from one-time Trump voters, admitting that the 3-time Trump voters that went through hell with him were right. Surely the irony here isn't lost on anybody in this audience. But let me go one step further, because this clip is catching some viral sensation right now. Jesse Kelly. And this is I mean, this is essentially what I was saying yesterday. This was basically my opening monologue from yesterday. Jesse, I believe, goes on later than me. I don't know when this one was recorded. This was this was from August 24th, I think, on his show. But this is exact. The main stuff for the Trump agenda that has to be done, you have 70 days to do it. And that's it. Unless you're willing to bet everything on the midterms, which I doubt many people are, you have 70 days to deport 10 million people. So now Jesse Kelly kind of takes a different angle with it here that I want to expand on a little bit. But what have I been saying, guys? I've been telling you. The thing is falling apart. The realization phase is happening. The denial phases, we're through it. We're in the shoot the messenger phase. You can't prop this thing up anymore. There were enough people going along to get along. There were enough people holding out hope. There were enough people thinking, you know, it's just kind of, there's some obstacles. We'll get things done. Now everybody's starting to realize, okay, 69 days till the midterms. This thing is a mess. This administration is a mess, and they virtually have no deliverables before the midterms. Now, they're going to try to give you a bunch of fake fruit, and like you go to a furniture store and they have the rooms laid out and displayed like kitchen sets and stuff, and they'll put like a fake bowl of fruit out on a kitchen set. It's like that's what the administration is going to do. The Trump administration is about to put a bunch of fake meat and fruit on a plate and serve it to you and hope that you think it's real. But I'll get to that in a second. Let's go to this clip from Jesse Kelly that everybody's kind of, it's like, whoa, oh, Jesse Kelly is saying this? It's like, this must be getting serious if Jesse Kelly is saying this. Hardcore right-winger?
Are we already giving up on November? And I asked that for this specific reason, because I had a long conversation today with, I'll just tell you who, Sean Spicer. You know what Sean Spicer told me? Sean Spicer told me the GOP is sitting on a gargantuan amount of money, a gigantic amount of money We are 70, 71 days, something like that, away from the election, and they're not spending it.
Now, let me pause right there. I have to tell you where my instincts go with this. I have to tell you where my instincts go. And I think that Jesse may bring this up. I can't remember if he ends up bringing this part up or not. Remember what Trump said a couple weeks ago about that. He talked about how he has about $1 billion war chest and how he might spend it on the midterms, but he can do whatever he wants with it, right? That was, I mean, probably not the exact quote, but essentially Trump said, I've got $1 billion in a war chest that I might spend on the midterms, but I can do whatever I want with it. That was what he said. You know what I think, guys? I think they're going to steal that money. Yeah, that's what I think. I'm not even kidding you. I don't know who, I don't know how, but let's just put all the pieces together. Trump comes out, they have $1 billion war chest for the midterms. They're telling you they're the most important midterms ever. They're telling you it's the midterms for Trump's life. It's the midterms for the Trump agenda. It's the midterms of all midterms. Trump's campaigning. Democrats are spending money. And Trump is sitting on $1 billion war chest, and he says, I might spend it on midterms. I can do whatever I want with it. Why aren't they using it? You've got 69 days till the midterms. Now, if you want to say they're waiting until the final months, final days, final weeks, okay, I guess we'll have to see. I guess I have to sacrifice that maybe that's true. But I'm not seeing it and I'm not buying it. I think they're going to steal that money. That's what I think. I think the same crooks that are involved in now the second biggest wealth transfer in the history of this country under the Trump administration, they're going to steal that money. These are dirty, rotten crooks, guys. In case you haven't figured it out, I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news here. These are dirty, rotten crooks running this administration. They're going to steal that money. You want to know why they're not spending it on midterms? Because they're going to steal it. Trump even said it. I can do whatever I want with this money. He meant it. He actually believes that. Now, we'll see. That's kind of my conspiracy thought, maybe, of the day. That's my doomer, let's say black pill doomer prediction of the day. But I'm just trying to add it up here. You explain to me why they're not spending any money. And everybody knows it, by the way. Everybody knows it. And by the way, this gets to what I was even talking about the other day, how I've got people calling me, like I've been telling you, closer to the Trump administration than me, and they're pissed. And this is the exact reason. Guys, they're sitting on $1 billion, and some of the biggest Trump supporters ever are getting crushed in court right now. They're getting annihilated. And nobody's helping them. And Trump is sitting on $1 billion and he's not spending it. He's saying, I can do whatever I want with it. And people that went to jail, people that did everything they possibly could, risked everything to get Trump in office. And they're sitting here looking at huge lawsuits, huge legal bills, and Trump won't even scratch their back. This thing right here that Jesse Kelly is talking about is like one of the big known secrets of everybody in the GOP. They're sitting on $1 billion, folks. They're just sitting on it, and they're not spending it. And everybody's starting to scratch their head and say, what the hell is going on? I don't think Sean Spicer has any official role with the administration, so I guess, for him to go on there and tell Jesse Kelly to take it on his show is probably not too damaging for him. But yeah, people behind the scenes are starting to raise their eyebrows. People behind the scenes are starting to scratch their head and say, what is going on? Why aren't they spending this money? And Trump says, I can do whatever I want with it. What, is he going to take it then? Is he just going to take it for himself? I'm telling you guys, this one is big. Behind the scenes, this one has people wondering what the hell's going on.
I told you my story about here in Texas. You know what Sean Spicer told me? Yeah, Jesse, same thing's happening in Michigan. Same thing's happening in North Carolina. Same thing's happening in Georgia. The GOP is sitting on truckloads of cash, and they're not spending it. People are starting to vote early, like now. If not now, it can't. Every state does it differently, but I guarantee it's starting very soon. This election is right now.
Now, that is such a key point there that doesn't really get emphasized or talked about, and he's totally right. The election has already started, guys. I'm not sure when the first mail-in vote or early vote is going to happen. Maybe it hasn't happened yet. But for all intents and purposes, most primaries are done. Most of the candidates on the ballot for the midterms, it's already decided. The midterms have already started. Most people are probably going to make up their mind on who they're going to vote for in the next month, if they haven't already. The midterms have already started, and the Republicans are on the bench when it comes to spending, and they're on the wrong side of every major issue when it comes to policy. And again, it's like, and then they're going to sit here and call me a Democrat, and they're going to sit here and bitch and complain that I don't support Trump hard enough, and it's just the craziest clown world thing I've ever seen. But eventually they're going to figure this out. If the Republicans lose the midterms, they have no one to blame but themselves. If Donald Trump and the Republican Party cannot maintain Congress in November, they have no one to blame but themselves. And all the MAGA cult members that have been living in denial and shooting the messenger for the last year this whole realization is going to come crumbling down on them. The whole thing is about to come collapsing down on them, and they're going to realize what an absolute turd the first half of this administration and the Republican-controlled Congress has been. And all they're going to get out of it is a war in the Middle East, more debt, more deficit, and a big tech data center AI surveillance state. That's it. That's it. And you can talk about the issues on immigration and the border. We got a little bit of that today. You know, of course, that can be reversed in one administration. Remember? Joe Biden, 20 million illegal immigrants. Remember that? This can all happen again. All of it. There are no really lasting long-term victories happening with this administration at all. Oh, but we got a UFC fight. Oh, but we got a F1 race. Oh, but we got a 250 parade and fair that totally flopped because nobody likes Trump anymore.
Why are we not unloading all this money? What are we saving the money for?
They're going to steal it. They're going to steal the money.
We saving it for 2028? What is happening? This is malpractice. And I'm not saying we're going to lose the Texas Senate seat, but we might. I'll tell you this. You know what Sean Spicer told me? It's a 1-point race right now. 1 point in one of the reddest states in the country. And why wouldn't it be 1 point? Bottom is on every single TV commercial, driving a Ford truck, talking about groceries and Jesus with Pawpaw. And Ken Paxton is nowhere to be found because the GOP's not spending any money. And I'm told that that same thing is happening in Georgia, that John Ossoff is unloading money. He's all over the airwaves. GOP candidate non-existent. North Carolina non-existent. Michigan non-existent. And now I get a story that Jared Kushner is already meeting with the probable, I guess, next Speaker of the House on areas of common ground. Are we in the negotiating the surrender phase? I mean, you're going to have to forgive me, but how am I supposed to take this any other way? Why in... I'm going to be calm here. Why in the world would we be meeting with Hakeem Jeffries 2 months before the election? Hopefully, Hakeem Jeffries is still in the minority after the election. I would hope that'd be the goal. But of course, surprise, surprise, who's the one going to sit down with Hakeem Jeffries? Jared Kushner.
And of course, we all know what that represents. Because at the end of the day, it's not about who controls Congress as far as the Republicans or the Democrats. It's about who actually controls Congress, and that's AIPAC. You got about a dozen Republicans, you got about 3 dozen Democrats, and then the rest are AIPAC. That's how Congress works. That's why Kushner is meeting with Jeffries. That's why Trump doesn't give a damn about the midterms, because he doesn't work for us anymore. And the deals are being cut right now that if the Democrats take Congress, the foreign policy in the Middle East will continue, and they're going to make damn sure of it. And I don't know, maybe Trump and the administration is making the mismeasurement, thinking that they can cut a deal with Jeffries and defang the Democrats when it comes to impeachment. I wouldn't bet on that. Tell you that much. And boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, guys. Did you see this one? Strange J.D. Vance text puts Republicans in a vulnerable position. Oh, just... Well, no, actually, Trump put Republicans in a vulnerable position when he's out here telling you it's the golden age, but everybody knows the economy is it's a struggle session right now. But you can see what they're trying to do with the Vance messaging versus the Trump messaging. It's like somebody from the administration has to at least pretend to care about the middle class. Somebody from the administration at least has to pretend like they have some connection to the average American still. That person is J.D. Vance. Whether you buy it or not, I don't know, but that's clearly what this is. So they send out a fundraising text in the name of J.D. Vance. And so here is the actual text. If you can't give right now, don't. Groceries cost what they cost. But just answer this question for me, J.D. Vance. That sounds like the golden age, guys. Hey! So if you get one of these messages, you've either donated to a Republican or some sort of a conservative group before, or you've registered as a Republican. Somehow they've got your phone number, your email, you've signed up for some deal. And then everybody just piles into these email groups, and you buy and sell these email lists once you get into that. And then they can, they get your number, they get your email. That's where you get these fundraising texts. So this thing probably went out to a bunch of people. Many of you might even have gotten it. This is the MAGA fundraising text with 69 days till the midterms. You can't afford groceries. Oh my gosh. But it's the golden age, though. So needless to say, this message goes out, and all panic ensues behind the scenes. All panic. Everyone involved with this text, it's not good. I mean, they're basically bleach bidding their phones, they're bleach bidding their text threads. They're pretending like nobody knows anything about this. We don't know where it came from. We never messaged about it. What a nightmare. J.D. Vance, hey, donate to the Republicans for the midterms. You can't afford groceries. Great. Absolutely fantastic. So that's where the Republicans are at. Now, as far as the Texas race, and I know Jesse Kelly lives in Texas, as of course I do. New Texas Senate poll shows Tallarico clobbering Paxton in districts Trump won by double digits. This thing is trending the wrong direction, guys. It's trending the wrong direction. And Jesse Kelly's, let's say, explanation of what it's like here is very true. I don't see, unless it's like from Paxton specifically, unless it's the Paxton campaign or the Paxton office, they're getting nothing. There's no big media buys for the Republicans. There's no big media buys for Ken Paxton. But you can't even watch the local news without getting pro-Tallarico messaging. Everywhere. The guy is everywhere. And Paxton, it's like, and I don't even, I get what Paxton is doing. He's basically sitting there just filing a bunch of stuff as the attorney general, most of it good, some of it wins, some of it loses. But he's just basically sitting there building this record on his final days as the attorney general, scoring victories, and maybe he thinks that'll carry him across the finish line. He's getting nothing. Tallarico everywhere. Paxton, people probably don't even know he's running. That's how bad it is. And as far as flipping districts, we've seen this happening all over. I don't know how bad. Maybe Texas ends up being kind of the measuring stick of how bad it really is. I would say last month, I would say Paxton was up by about 2 points. I'm not sure. I'd say now it's about an even draw. And you know what else is hurting the Republicans? Greg Abbott. Nobody wants to vote for Greg Abbott. Nobody. And I'm talking about Republicans. Most Republicans, most conservatives, right-leaning people in Texas, they will go vote for Paxton. Nobody wants to vote for Greg Abbott. Nobody. So the Republican Party is so weak in Texas. In Texas, the Republican Party is so weak that most of their voters don't even want to vote for their candidate for governor. They're so sick of him. And the GOP and the Trump administration are doing virtually nothing to help Paxton win, even though he's neck and neck with Tallarico, who's everywhere. And maybe it's not saying much, but Tallarico is running a better campaign than Beto. Maybe worth mentioning, considering everything else that's going on. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show. I do still have, as I told you, the next plan from the Trump administration is to put a bunch of fake food on a plate and then give it to you and hope that you'll buy it, hope that you'll eat it ahead of the midterms. So I'll give you some examples of that coming up. I'm going to be joined by Valhalla VFT coming up on the other side of this break. Looking forward to talking with him. This has been a lot of the audience has been requesting this for a while. We make it happen today. We'll be right back after this break.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
Extra dimensional and multi-universal. Here's your host, Owen Schroyer.
All right, we're into the second hour of today's Owen Report. This segment has been widely requested, and it's one of those things, I don't know, it just like, you just know it's going to happen. You just know eventually God's going to present the opportunity for such a great guest like Valhalla VFT joining me now. And, actually, I don't know, I'm trying to remember the exact time where I was like, okay, we got a collab. I think it was you had a video. It was you were the first to report, and I'm actually curious what conclusion you reached, but you were analyzing some of the videos of the Charlie Kirk assassination and jumping on and off the roof, and you pointed something out that I agreed with, actually. It was almost undeniable the way you presented it, that it doesn't even look like where they were claiming he took the shot is actually where he took the shot. Now, I don't know if we want to get so much into that today. There's other stuff to talk about. I want to kind of introduce people to your channel as well. But I am just curious because that's kind of where I picked it up and left it off when I was curious what you were doing with that investigation. What did you determine with that? Because at that time, it looked pretty apparent that the place where the shot was taken, we're not getting even the truth about that.
Well, that's, Owen, glad to be here, by the way. And also, yeah, a ton of my audience has been requesting that we do a collab together. So yeah, it definitely was a natural fit here. But actually, I got to say, that was like the one thing I was wrong about. So what happened with that is the footage, and we learned this from Candace Owens, is so compressed, so overly compressed. It actually is important the way we learned. What we learned from it is that when we were actually looking at this building that was like off to his left side that just was not there, that when I'm looking at Google Earth imagery, it just didn't exist. And I'm like, what the, where the hell is this? Right. Turns out the image is so warped and compressed that building that looks like it's behind him to his left is actually about 150 meters in front of him, like off to the left. But they've smashed and compressed that footage so drastically that you can't even really tell anything about it anymore. So when we like really broke it down and figured out everything in it, we realized it is the spot. We still do think he might be a little too far away from that roof to have the actual line of sight on a downward angle to have made that shot. But yeah, I mean, it just turned out that the camera footage, that whatever they did to it is so compressed and so bad now that it looks like a building that's behind him is 200 meters in front of him. So bizarre.
Well, it's weird. It's weird. The most important camera footage in some of the most consequential cases of our life, it's like we can't get it. It's always weird how that works. Here's what I want to, because I don't really want to go into the morass with that today. I don't think,
for sure.
I don't think it's worth our time to do that today. But here's where I actually wanted to take it with you, because I'm curious. The way independent media, it's like you go down these rabbit holes, right? And with each rabbit hole you go down, I kind of talk about it being like a merry-go-round. And it's like eventually, even if the merry-go-round is moving fast, it's like eventually you can see the blurry objects, right? It's like eventually you kind of catch up, and the objects that were once just a blur now start to take a little shape. You start to understand the different colors, whatever. And it's like every time you go down these rabbit holes, you start to notice the shapes, you start to notice the patterns, and it's just like it really does make you think you're crazy. Because you're like, how can this be? How can it be every time I go down a damn rabbit hole? It's like, what is it? It's a pizza. How come every time I go down a rabbit hole, now you got, the Epstein files, and it's pizza again. And it's just like, okay, how am I supposed to pretend like this isn't happening? And so, from my experience, it's like you go down these rabbit holes and you become, it's the signs, the symbols, everything becomes so obvious. It's like it's too obvious. And then you start to question yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't know if you watch a whole lot of Fox News on a regular basis anymore, Owen, but
I got it on right here. What do you,
Jesse Waters came after me last night. So I was actually doing he called, he talked about how I have TDS, and it was attacking me for interviewing Hunter Biden, which, I mean, okay. But anyway, so I'm putting that video together, and then I start to because he mentions about how, how many times they've come after Trump's life and all these things. And I'm like, yeah, but okay, well, Butler's all of a sudden starting to be like what you're talking about. Like, okay, we start looking into that, and all of a sudden that gets weirder and weirder. And then the White House Correspondents' Dinner, like that gets weirder and weirder. And then you're like, hey, what happened to these people? Where are remember those assassins? Like, remember that guy who ran in with a shotgun? Like, where'd he go? Does he have a trial? Like, what's happening? And so then you got the Epstein files. You got the Charlie Kirk case. They're just over and over and over and over again. These stories, I hate to say it's like all fake and G, but it's like it starts getting like you're saying, nothing gets clear. It gets muddier and muddier and muddier on every single one of these stories. And there's never an answer. There's never an outcome that anybody's satisfied with.
Well, and you just said it, outcome, right? I mean, there's no results. And I've got a stack of this today. I was kind of presenting this before you came on, how the Trump administration, they don't have anything, obviously, or they'd be set to win the midterms. They don't have anything real to offer voters. If they did,
I love this.
We'd be celebrating, right? So what they're about to do is they're about to start plating plastic food is what they're going to do. They're going to start plating plastic food and presenting it in front of you. I got a couple examples of this today. In fact, let me just bring up one specifically as an example. Oh, here you go. Pentagon claims, you probably saw this digital influence campaign happening today on social media. Pentagon claims to have found hidden files on final days of the Afghanistan war. And of course, this is the backdrop of the Abbey Gate ceremony and everything happening today. Oh, they found more hidden files, just like the hidden Epstein files, just like the hidden Russiagate files. They find these burn bags of files. and they do the same thing, and MAGA just eats it up, and nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. And so I'm looking at it again today, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. They're getting excited over this. They're getting excited over that. Nothing is going to happen. Remember, Tulsi Gabbard goes to the Georgia database with all the votes. She's going to explain how it was stolen. Nothing happens. Trump comes out, explains how China stole the election. Nothing happens. It's like, how many times do they have to sit here and get this fake food plated and not realize it's fake?
So I just talked about this on my show last night quite a bit, where I was talking about basically MAGA can't run on their performance. They can't run on Donald Trump's performance in the midterms. What the fuck are you going to run on, right? Like a new war in Iran, terrible gas prices, nobody can afford anything. There's nothing that you point to your point. So I like the idea of, plating fake food for us. There's those, but there's also the two big ones I think we've all noticed. And they're kind of just like, if you look at the MAGA pages and accounts, we're going back to 2001, right? It's like all of a sudden out of nowhere, the massive Islamophobia and communism push, right? It's like the scare the boomers. We got to scare the boomers to get them out to vote because, okay, yeah, is communism and Islam a problem? Maybe, not really. I don't fucking know, but it's not what the issues are in America today. But that's what we're seeing right here, right? Is we can't run on actual performance or real issues. So we're going to feed you up a bunch of fucking slop to either scare you or, to your point with all these, there's like Fauci is another one, right? Like we just had Fauci, what happened with that? You got Donald Trump being like, well, actually you got to respect the pardon, and you're like, okay, dude, it's just,
which we all know what that means. He's going to pardon himself and all his family.
100%. Of course, right? He's trying to build that up like it's the most powerful thing in the world. Yeah. So that way when he pardons himself, right, hopefully the Democrats will, which they probably will, to be honest. I mean, you're watching like Hakeem Jeffries now meeting with Jared Kushner. You're like, okay, it's a fucking uniparty that's about to, just transition. That's why I'm like, you're not getting anything better on the Democrat side either because, blue MAGA is the same thing. It's all like one big grift at the moment in the in DC.
You've got your Democrats. It's about 2 or 3 dozen. You've got your Republicans, it's about a dozen, and then you've got AIPAC that controls Congress. I mean, that's the real balance of power in Congress. There's so many bullet points I have here. I want to go back to what you said. Let's start with the Hunter Biden angle.
Yeah.
This is one that I find extremely ironic. And by the way, it's like if we're going to start doing morality contests here, like we're going to start doing virtual reality morality contest here. It's like, guys, come on, really? You're supporting Trump. I think that
right.
I think Valhalla VFT is probably has a better lifelong established order of morals and values ahead of what Donald Trump's are. But it's like, hey, whatever. It's all okay if it's Trump, right? For the Trump cult. But I go to the Hunter Biden thing and I just say, okay, if you want to complain about whoever it is, Tucker Carlson, Valhalla VFT, any of these people, if you want to complain about them interviewing Hunter Biden, I say the same thing. Why don't you guys complain to Trump ever about anything? Why is Hunter Biden still free? If you think the Biden crime family existed, which the House Oversight Committee I think they proved it pretty convincingly that there was pay to play happening. I mean, Byron Donalds was right there. We all watched that happen in the last session of Congress. So it's like, why are you complaining about somebody interviewing Hunter Biden? If you think he's a crook and a criminal, why aren't you complaining at the Trump Justice Department? It's so strange.
Yeah.
Why do they come after you? What institutional power do you have? Are you in the DOJ, Valhalla?
I mean, I used to be in the military, and that's the closest I came to it. But, I think it's really interesting because it's like, do I agree with everything Hunter Biden has to say? No. Do I agree with most of his politics? No. We even talked when I talked to him about it, we even said, we'll probably disagree on a ton of things, but it's like, I can still sit down and have a friendly conversation with someone, and you can too, right? I just saw it. Like, this is what drives me crazy is that we're on the side of like, we can sit down and have a friendly conversation. You just did it with Anna Kasparian, who I love, by the way. Like,
And
you
I
can
just
sit
did it
down.
last night with Gina from Raw News and Politics. She's a big lefty.
Yeah. And so what I think, here's my thing. I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? The division, also that's the big push is the division push, which it's always been that way. Left versus right, Christian versus Muslim, black versus white, whatever we can drum up to keep people distracted from AIPAC buying all our politicians, right? It seems like what it's all about. But like, why can't we sit down and have a conversation of, hey, what do we agree on is going wrong? And what do we agree on are things that we could maybe work towards together, left and right, populist. I don't know, because it seems like that's a lot better to do it. And I see you do that. You had a great tweet. This might have been a month or two ago, and I don't want to misquote you. And you could probably remind me, but you said something along the lines of if the left gives up open borders and woke ideology, and the right, will take universal health care or something else, like you actually potentially could get a coalition to like actually start getting some positive things for it. And I'm like, that is what we need to be having discussions for, between left versus right and populism, whatever this actually is, because currently we all kind of agree that the current administration is fucked, right? Like, so why don't we have friendly conversations about this? You know what I mean? But you get attacked for it. I'm sure you get mercilessly attacked for it as well the second you decide to.
Yeah, but you know what, though? You know what? And this is where, because I talk a lot about how I feel like a lot of these MAGA people now that mostly just seem to exist online, I'm convinced they don't have any social life at all. And I'm not even, this isn't even like I'm not like trying to be some mean bully here. This is
I know what you're saying.
This is like a genuine analysis, because if you really think that Trump is still popular, you must not have any friends. I mean, I just don't know how else to say it. Again, I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like, I don't know. You must not have any social circles outside of your political bubble if you really think that Trump is still popular. And by the way, most of my social circles are right-leaning, I would say. Most of my social circles are people that voted for Trump multiple times. They're all sick of Trump. They love the direction that I've taken my contact. They're like shaking my hand. They're like, thank you. No one else will do this. I was earlier today, I was talking to somebody who's definitely more of a liberal, and we were kind of having that conversation about where can compromises happen. They're still they're not like all the way in on the LGBTQ stuff, but it's like they still kind of have that bent. Like they're still kind of that like far left bent. And I'm like, well, if somebody like me has no tolerance for that, where is something that we can agree on? And what I'm finding is most people these days are kind of like, okay, we can find a balance between social liberalism and fiscal conservatism. And then kind of figure out, okay, it's like, hey, we all agree there's something needs to be done with the economy. We all agree it's like the foreign policy is not benefiting our country. It's like these are the things we can agree on and say, okay, let's build a coalition and let's actually aim for results. And let's aim for a result economically. Let's aim for a result on foreign policy. And we'll kind of sort out the rest as we're going along. And we'll just agree, okay, we're going to pause this deal on whatever we want to do at the border and immigration. We're going to pause this deal on what we want to do with the LGBTQ stuff. Let's get the economy fixed. Let's get out of the Middle East. Let's get our foreign policy that's a disaster, and let's repatriate these resources back into the country. That seems to be where this coalition right now is building, and probably right after the midterms, I think, starts to take off.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly how I look at it. And I don't know what the coalition actually is, right? And there's also a lot of talk of the new third party with, Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Joe Kent, pushing that type of thing. I think there's a lot of, my biggest thing with that, maybe we could get into that. I don't want to get too deep into that. But I mean, the idea of like, what does a coalition look like? And I know a lot of people are like, no, never, no coalition with the left. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, but if we don't somehow do what you're talking about here and striving for results, we're doing this crazy pendulum swing, right? Which is like, you've got the MAGA pendulum swing all the way out here, right? Which is just insane. Nothing's getting done. And what's that going to do if we have no coalition? It's going to swing back the other way. And then we're going to go into the insane side of the left-wing party that I don't agree with, which is the crazy woke ideology, open borders, crazy shit, right? And so if we can't come together somehow and get a little bit of, I hate to say moderate because it's not moderate, then we're just going to keep doing this, right? Back and forth. And then what happens? Okay, we open the borders up, right? And everybody floods in. We get nothing done economically. It swings about the other way. We close the border, but then we start another 7 different wars. And all the meantime, we're blowing all the money we have while we don't use any of it on domestic policy. So I'm there with you. I just don't like, how do we get there? How do you get people on board off of the two-party framework, right? That's a big problem too. It's like, it's also designed this way, as too. Two-party, where really at the top, it's one party. And so it's kind of, I look at it like, now for me, and I wanted to ask you where you sit, where you identify yourself. I know this is a hard one politically. Do you consider yourself a Republican anymore? Because I think me and you are both like disillusioned conservatives, right? Like, for sure, ideologically, we have a very similar base that way. But do you consider yourself a Republican still? I'm an independent. I'm a registered independent. I threw my hands up and said enough is enough on that. I think that's an interesting conversation, because what exactly is this group of us that are sort of, again, disillusioned conservatives who don't identify with MAGA, but still find ourselves conservative? You know what I mean?
I would say no, I do not consider myself a Republican. I'm not really sure if I ever did. I can't avoid the Trump connection. So if you want to say I was a Trump Republican, I can't really avoid that. But before that, I was never really Republican. I guess I've never voted for a Democrat. So take away, I guess that would just land me on the conservative side of the spectrum. Really, this is what I said the other day, and I think a lot of people feel this way. And I've never said I would vote for the Democrats. They love to take, what they do online is they take analysis and then they interpret it as opinion. So when I come out and I say something like, hey, I think the Democrats are going to win the House, they say, Schroyer said he's going to vote for Democrats. It's like, no, I'm doing political analysis. Right. But what I've found, this is kind of how I feel about it right now. There's no real classification other than, if I have the opportunity to go to the voting booth and give a middle finger to somebody, it's like, that's what I'm just a middle finger. I just want to go vote right now,
dude. Yeah.
And so, I'll be honest, right now, voting Democrats is kind of the middle finger vote. That's just kind of the truth. And now maybe it depends on what state you're in and different local issues. Data centers is a big one, so that can go either way, foreign policy. But I would say, generally speaking, that middle finger vote, people feel that voting Democrat is that middle finger vote. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that they agree with the Democrats or align with them even politically. They just want to give a middle finger to the Republicans. They just want to go to the voting booth and give a middle finger to Trump and the Republicans. And, you brought this up earlier, but, clearly they've decided the messaging ahead of the midterm, since they can't run on results, is going to be, we have to beat communists. And if the Democrats win, they're going to impeach Trump. Well, I'm sitting here and like, don't say that.
Right. Now I'm going to vote for the Democrat.
Now people are going to raise the polls. Don't say that. That's what people want right now. So I would say I'm like you. I'm an independent. I'm looking at each individual race. When you're in Travis County like I am, and it's, unless there's big local issues happening, it's like, I know Travis County is going to go blue. Most people here are going to vote Democrat. The only consequential vote I might have would be, I plan on voting for Ken Paxton. I'm not going to vote for Greg Abbott. I'm not going to vote for the female Democrat, but I'll find somebody down ballot just to go vote for anybody but Abbott or the Democrat. So that's just kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's it. That's me too. I'm looking at each individual race. Even I'll vote for, if you give me a good Democrat candidate in 2026 or 2028, I'll vote for him. Comparatively, if you run that against, let me frame this an example. Any Republican who voted yes to merge our militaries with Israel, you're automatically a no vote. I will vote for, unless your Democrat opponent is literally a giant AIPAC candidate too, then it's a wash. But in let's say the Michigan race, Abdul Al-Said. Yeah, who do I support there? The evil Islamic guy or the lady who took $70 million from AIPAC? of course, these are easy choices here. So that's where I'm at on that. Is I'm just looking at each individual race. I don't know what that means for 2028 for the actual presidential race, because honestly, I don't see a decent candidate on either side of the field who's like a kind of officially, not officially, but you know what I mean, has made it clear they're running, right? You got Gavin Newsom, AOC, Marco Rubio, JD Vance, etc. I don't see a single decent candidate yet. So I don't know what that means for the future on that, but I'm like you right now, where I want to punish people. And if you voted for me, like the Thomas Massey race was one, and then the NDAA, man, that for me was like, if you stamped your name yes on that, I will 100% vote against you. I don't care who the candidate is. Like the other Republican in the primary, the Democrat, like you need to be punished for that. You want to end American sovereignty? Yeah, there should be some accountability for that. You know what I mean?
Well, and everything kind of changed with Trump. So I anticipate, unless Trump cancels the elections or announces he's going to run again, the whole system is going to kind of reset. The whole political system, I think, is going to reset post-Trump.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people in MAGA that can't even comprehend it, and that's why they're so far up Trump's ass, because they don't even realize that there's a world without Trump. But I anticipate the whole thing is going to kind of reset. And the reason I say that is, and this is where I get misinterpreted, it's like, yeah, I was one of the biggest Trump supporters, but I really, my whole introduction into political media was I was just anti-establishment, conspiracy theory. Like that was the direction I went. And that's the direction that most people ended up voting for Trump with. It's like Trump.
Yeah, it used to be. That used to be the anti-establishment crowd that we all are, used to be that Trump used to be that guy. And then everybody got rug pulled. Right. Yeah. And I think that's where, that's why I don't, a lot of because I have my audience is very, very across the board, left, right, center, as an independent audience. But that's why I also tell, a lot of Democrats will be very visceral about Republicans who are now moving away from MAGA. Wow, you're not welcome. Like, I forget the phrase they use, like, oh, they're with us now, we're not with them, or whatever they say. But it's like, dude, no.
One got me. You know what one got me? They said, you'll come running back to Trump. I'm like, wow, you are pathetic.
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, it's just, I don't blame, I said this on my stream last night, I don't blame the people who were lied to. I blame the fucking dude who lied, right? So, yeah, we could go down the line, and we could go clip by clip of what did Donald Trump run on in 2024? Like, he's done the polar fucking opposite of almost everything. And so for me, just as I don't understand, we could talk about like this cultish tribalism in politics, and it's on both sides, but just this devoted love for a politician you're seeing out of MAGA, right? I think the famous, that famous photo now of the guy, I'm sure you see it, who wore the Unalive Your Local PDF shirt, and he's just standing in the crowd of MAGA, and he's just holding it up. He's not saying anything. And there's the famous photo of the guy flipping him off, screaming at him, and it's like, that's where you guys are at now. Like, yeah, you're raging out over a guy just simply standing there in a anti-PDF shirt at a Trump rally. Like,
by the way, that's what I used to do. I'd go to these abortion rallies, and I would just I just stand there. I could have a MAGA hat, and they just start screeching. It's like, that's brainwashed, cultish behavior. And
right.
now MAGA's exhibiting it more than anybody else in politics.
Way more than I've ever seen anybody ever do it. I mean, it's like, have you seen anything like this in politics?
No, I'm telling you.
This cultish tribal is like, and it's viscerally insane. Like, and I feel like that's the break point where you had, because you'll see Donald Trump be like, 83% of Republicans, support me, the highest ever. It's like, yeah, because like fucking half the Republican Party left the party now, dude. You know what I mean? And real quick to your point about
Republicans, they just weren't ever Republicans. They just voted Trump.
That too, yeah. And to your point, real quick, you mentioned like your inner circle, pretty much everybody's off board. I'll tell you this: like, I've only been retired out of the military for a little over 2.5 years, so a ton of my buddies are still active duty, like guys on the teams I was with, and so I've been asking them like, and everybody was pro-Trump back then in the military, right? Like, Trump was the military guy, and so I've been asking them like, what's your guys' feelings on Trump now? What's your guys' feeling on Iran, dude? 100% of them are like, fuck that dude, bro. Like, this is so dumb. You know what I mean?
Let me pause that for a second, because I actually want to ask you the question. I want to give you a question and actually allow you to think about it and answer it, because I'm not military. I mean, I've got people that, listen to my show in the military. I know people in the military. Obviously, your connections to the military are about as deep as anybody else in the independent media. So I'm glad that you're bringing this up now.
Yeah.
I'm able to get some of the vibe that you're talking about through people that talk to me, and then obviously through the news. But I've always wondered, how hard is it? So like the USS Lincoln story, right? We kind of all know about that now, at least some of it. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, but they end up being out without port for over 250 days. So we're talking about we're talking about 3-4 months past, the longest you're going to be out. We saw some of the videos coming off of the ship, the plumbing issues, which usually that's kind of a rebellion thing. Clog the toilets, flood the deck. That's kind of like people are pissed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a mechanical thing. Maybe it's a protest thing. The point is, we all saw this happening, and I was always wondering, how hard is it, or is there even like potential legal issues for an active duty member, say, that's on the USS Lincoln, to get a message to the media or somebody that says, hey, this is a disaster. We can't eat. We can't go to the bathroom. Nobody here is happy. We're all pissed off. We don't have resources. They won't bring us back home. Or is it like, not just, hey, you don't do that, it's uncouth or unpatriotic, but there's also maybe legal ramifications. I mean, how much do you think we're actually getting about the realistic morale issues versus what's not being talked about?
Well, I know. I talk about it on my show. On my Friday show, I do a 4-way roundtable. It's me as a Green Beret. We have a lieutenant colonel from MARSOC, a commander, major commander from Navy SEALs, and an Air Force pararescue, Aaron Love. You may know him from Aaron Loves America. And we talk about these exact issues. And yeah, our Navy guys, they have direct access to a bunch of people on these ships. And it's a lot worse than you think. It's not just, can I explain some things that are actually going on for the sailors here? Because it's not just that, like, oh, the bathrooms are clogged and, they've been out a long time. They're also working 18-hour days, 7 days a week for the most part, because you got to keep in mind at this point, what's happening is all of our bases in the Middle East essentially have been destroyed, right? In Qatar,
15
Kuwait,
of them, exactly.
UAE, all of those bases that we used to be able to launch air operations from are gone. And so now majority of the air operations are having to be run from the aircraft carriers. So think about that. The deck of that aircraft carrier is running fighter jets like this every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day. And so the workload for these sailors is out of fucking control. So they're working 100-hour weeks on top of shitty food, on top of confined living quarters, on top of not having, your basic hygiene necessities, never going to port. And so, yeah, there's a massive, massive problem. Think about that. Could you think about that, Owen? Could you imagine working hard labor 18 hours a day for 9 months straight with shitty conditions?
I don't even want to go on a cruise.
You think that
they're on a cruise for 2 weeks? I can't even imagine what these guys are going through.
Right. So does anybody think that hears that think like, oh, I'd be in pretty good mental condition? Of fucking course not.
But let me ask you this though. But hold on a second, because I think that this is also very important. If they believed in the cause, then,
they don't. They don't.
Right. So there it is. I think that this is what's being kind of buried in the headlines. Yeah. I feel like it's not just morale. It's that they don't even believe in the cause. They're not even sure what the cause is. Or, as I'm sure you're well aware, I talk about this all the time. A lot of these younger guys, they have access to the internet. They know how to scroll the internet. Even if there is some sort of a mechanism to try to block certain websites or whatever, they'll still find access. Point being, the word is going around, hey, we're working here on behalf of Israel, aren't we?
Can I read you a text message from one of my former teammates and close friends who's still active duty and this is a Green Beret, Army Special Forces. Yeah, I can't give away his name, but I'll give you a basic sentiment of what's happening. I mean, I can promise you, if you become a Green Beret, you are a patriotic fucking American. The level of effort and devotion, dedication it takes to make it there is insane, right? This is what he said when I was asking him about how he's doing and how he feels about the war. And he says, brother, I am effing done. I joined because I had friends and family die in Iraq and Afghanistan, which he did. It is so clear what's going on. I almost feel like I can't say what I think because people get pissed at me. But however, most people agree. Do you think for 1 second I want to go fight some fucking blank war in Iran? I bleed red, white, and blue. American through and through. You never convince me this war is right now or just. I do it for my brothers in the left and right, but this is fucking bullshit. So that is and I promise you, these are people I served with and went to war with who did not feel that way at all 5 years ago while we were fighting the war in Afghanistan. So that is the common sentiment of a lot of the active duty soldiers. And so for them, I know Pete Hegseth wants to portray it like everybody's out for the mission. And some guys are, right? But I even had a young Marine who we were family friends, and he was home on leave, came out to my house. I've got a gun range and, running through some firearms training and whatnot while he's back home, private in the Marine Corps. And so I'm like, let me ask. It's one thing to ask like the disillusioned older guys like me that are sergeant majors now that have been in for 20 years, right? Like how things are going. It's another thing to ask a young grunt Marine who's joining because he wants to go fight the wars. And I asked him, what's the sentiment for you guys? And he was like, well, everybody like wants to go see combat and like wants to get their gun on, which is a thing for these guys. But he's like, but everybody knows this. But everybody knows this war is bullshit. Nobody wants to fight me wrong. That's from like the young grunts are even like, nah, dude, nah. So to your point, no.
To go and focus on that point, I was saying, especially when we saw when and I don't know what the real body count is. They tell us it's 18. I got a feeling it's way more than that. But
I think so too. Yeah.
But so you look at some of the individuals. We're talking about young individuals. We're talking about early 20s. I think there were even a couple of teenagers.
Yep.
And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, how many of them signed up because they believed Trump when he said no new wars? Now, you know as much as anybody, just as many people that want to go grab a gun and ruck through the desert. There's also people that want to just go to college. There's people that just want to get, the different benefits that come along with the military. So you kind of have a mixed bag of all of this. But it seems like I'm curious, the new people, it's like, did they believe no new wars? Did they believe, hey, I'm not going to get sent to the Middle East. Hey, I'm not going to be stationed on a boat, a carrier ship for almost a year. And is that maybe even making the morale worse because they believe this is not what was going to happen? And that's how it was presented, by the way. I mean, that was the campaign. And then they did that massive recruitment drive and it worked. And
yes, it did.
And now they're over there and they're back in the Middle East.
100%. So I do think so. Yeah, I do though. I do tell young soldiers, because there's a lot of young soldiers that are or looking to join that we mentor and help, that I always tell them, don't, whatever the politicians and commander in chief is telling you at the moment, make your decision to join the military outside of that. Because like me, you're going to serve under 4 different presidents. There's a chance the next one decides, hey, you're fucking going, right? But Trump did make these promises, right? We can all look at hundreds of clips from the campaign trail of no new wars, no new wars, no new wars. Now, did they get fooled? Most likely. But this is a compounding problem that you bring up that's very, very important to future recruitment or retention, as we call it. All of these young soldiers who, to your point, Owen, were promised no new foreign wars that all of a sudden end up on a fucking ship for 9 months in the worst conditions ever. Do you think they're going to re-enlist at their 3-month mark or 3-year mark? Fuck no. They're going to be like, thank you, I am out of here, right? So you're going to see this boom that we saw, and then most likely at the 2-3 year mark from here, after this absolute clusterfuck, you're going to see a massive retention and recruitment crisis. Because people think about it right now, right now, they're kind of benefiting from a terrible economy, for that K-shaped economy for young people, right? The economy is really, really bad for young people, especially young men. And so right now they're kind of benefiting from no other options. But if that turns around, and then after that, yeah, I mean, who would want to join right now? Right? I look back at myself, like, I love my time in the military and I love the military, but like looking at the current state of America and who's in charge, like, you think you want to go join the Navy right now, bro? Like, what? You're watching reports out of the Abraham Lincoln and they're like, hey, you want to join the Navy and work on a ship? And you're like, no, I think I'm okay. I'm going to pass. So yeah, there's going to be some serious downwind effects from exactly what you just said.
Speaking of the Lincoln, do you think when it does finally return, I don't know when it's supposed to get back, but it is on its way back. Yeah. Do you think when it returns, we're going to hear a lot more? Do you think people are going to be able to get, information and opinions, let's say, that we're on the ship?
I didn't answer one of your questions earlier that's very, very important. You asked me about if sailors or soldiers are able to get reports out to the media of mistreatment and bad conditions. And you talked about legalities. Is there anything technically illegal about doing this? No, not necessarily. Kind of a whistleblowing, right? But I will tell you this, Owen. If they find out who you are, they will fucking ruin your life and end your military career. Even if nothing legally happens to you, they will use it through promotion boards and fucking with your record. I've watched it happen for way less in my time. When they decide they don't like somebody, or you caused a problem, this is military culture, they will ruin your fucking life. They will end your career. They will make you non-promotable, and they will make your life a living hell until you are out. That is military culture. Now, typically that's for like a shitbag, right? Like a guy who, does something stupid or he fucks with the unit, but this is a thing. Yeah, you decide to cause some problems for the U.S. military, they'll ruin your fucking life, even if it's not legal punishment. Does that make sense culturally?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was kind of my interpretation of it. It's like there's no real strict guidelines to you saying what you feel, but
right,
some underwriting there. But what about the brass? I mean, we keep hearing these stories now, and it kind of seems like maybe a repeat of the first administration, but everything's different now. But we hear about all the top military brass getting let go. And it's like all of this is kind of landing on Hegseth. Part of me kind of sympathizes with Hegseth. I think he's a little in over his head. I do think he's a patriotic
100%.
American. But
I can explain that for you of what's happened with that if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, and I guess the reason I'm bringing this up, I want to get your explanation.
Sure.
But I'm just curious if that doesn't impact kind of that culture that you're talking about, where it's like if the brass, if the top brass is having morale issues, or they're kind of looking at this administration like, hey, man, what the fuck? Does that kind of lower the temperature on that culture you're talking about?
I mean, well, we've already seen it happening. Okay, so this isn't like necessarily that's something super rare. Obama released a lot of generals, although not quite the way people say that he did. Most of those were field grade, but a lot of times administrations don't, when you get to the top brass, right? They want loyalty. And if they're not going to get loyalty, that can be a problem. And so what we have right now with Pete Hegseth in there is Pete Hegseth is not respected by his military peers, top brass officers, right? Because Pete Hegseth was essentially a infantry major who couldn't hack it, and they forced him out into the reserves. He's got no ranger tab. For those people who are in the military, if you are an infantry officer without a ranger tab, you are automatically looked at as basically somebody that needs to be washed out and has no business. It's like one of those just requirements that you got to have, right? So he doesn't have the respect from his high-ranking officer peers as is. So the problem with that is you've now put him in charge as a guy nobody respects of guys like recently, he just, fired a former Delta Force commander, right? And so when you have guys like that, who you are basically taking orders from a guy like Pete Hegseth, as men, you know how men work, right? If you're working for a guy who you think is inept and you've got a massive resume and he's your boss, you're going to be like, fuck this guy, right? He doesn't know what he's fucking doing. So, of course, there's that culture of it. So then Pete Hegseth gets rid of all these guys, right? All of these guys who are basically rubbing up against him, telling him, no, this is dumb. We're not going to do that. They're just going to keep getting rid of him. To your point, a lot of that is because he is in over his head. I think he does mean well, but he's just not the person for that job. And so that then creates this culture of, well, you washed out a ton of these generals, which some of them good, some of them bad, but tons of experience to bring in loyalists. Right. And so each administration often does that, but we're seeing it more pronounced now. And especially when you have this war that we're honestly losing, that makes it tenfold, right? Because now you have all these fucking generals who don't respect this guy already, fighting a war they don't agree with, and we're losing that war. It's just a massive can of worms at that level. You know what I mean?
All right. This is a great breakdown, guys, from Valhalla VFT on YouTube. You can see his channel right there. Give him a follow. He's got just excellent military guests, excellent military content and analysis. You get a taste of it right there. I do want to go back to something that you said earlier, and that was Butler. And I forget what it was. I was listening to something. I don't even remember what it was, but I was listening to something and Butler came up. I think it was how they flipped that district. The Butler district went for Trump and they just had a special election and it flipped. And I think that got me thinking about the assassination again. And then I'm going through it again and it's just like, I'm looking at that whole thing differently. And I'm not on a path of saying that the entire thing was staged. But I am.
I didn't think it was staged when it happened. But I think there's weird stuff going on about it now.
I'm still not sure I think that, but I have to look back on this now, and it is such a head scratcher. The whole thing becomes such a head scratcher now. And I ended up watching some guy's video who does believe it. In fact, you know what? It was, I think it was Professor Zhang.
Had him on my show. Interesting guest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was on with Luke Dory or whatever that gentleman's name is. I forget it, but I think I ended up watching his account, why he thinks it's staged. And again, I'm like, well, I'm not convinced. But you know what? He brings up good questions. He brings up just basic questions that at the time we're kind of going through the drama of it. It's in the middle of an election cycle. We are all backing Trump. We want him to win. Okay, let's, use this as leverage as much we can. As sick as that sounds, it's politics. But you look back on it now and it's like the administration doesn't want to even investigate this. And here's where and this is actually, it's so funny because it was kind of the first instinct. And then I get back to the same instinct and I'm just like, there is no way Thomas Crooks gets on that roof, right? I mean, there's just no way. There's just no freaking way that Secret Service lets him on that roof. I'm sorry. To me, that is the most absurd thing
you're right.
to believe.
We do. So for those of you guys don't know, Green Berets are actually we're the ones that do physical security. It's called POTUS v. POTUS security when presidents and congressmen, vice presidents go to foreign countries. Okay. Why? Because we're the ones embedded there. Like, let's say Kamala Harris, right? She goes to Vietnam. Well, you're going to have special forces teams there in Vietnam who are already living there and deployed. We are actively in 93 different countries at all times. There's just always Green Berets everywhere around the country. So when a politician or a president or a vice president come there, we actually kind of provide. Now the Secret Service is still there, but they don't know anything about, Vietnam or what's going on. So we actually provide the physical security for them. So I've done this myself. And I can promise you there is a 0% fucking chance that kid walks into that, not only walks into that rally, but goes to the only elevated position in the entire area on a roof, climbs up there and is just weasels his way up and is laying up there to take a shot. And it's not until shots ring out that they finally figure out where he is. 0% chance. Oh, and to your point, it's just not a thing unless it was allowed to happen. I think you want to get my take on this. I don't think it was a hoax per se, as like I do think the press secretary dinner was personally. I think it feels more like a warning to me. Looking back on it, it felt more like maybe it was on intentional and they missed. Right? It felt more like a warning based off of what I watched happen afterwards. We had Trump 1.0, who everybody thought was going to do, everything he promised in the campaign. That moment happens. And from that point on, you get Trump 2.0. Within 48 hours of that, he's picked J.D. Vance as his vice president. Remember, he's got his ear bandaged with
no scar, but maybe that's a miracle.
Right. But my point is he's still got the ear bandage. They have the big Republican event where he announces JD's going to be his vice president. Everybody's a little bit confused and bizarred about that because J.D. Vance obviously hates Trump's guts. And then from that point on, you get Trump 2.0, where he's doing everything he's fucking obviously told by who. Now, I'm not saying they're necessarily the ones behind it, but it felt to me that Butler felt like a warning now. Like, do what you're fucking told, right? We're going to do all of these things, go to war with Iran, or this is what's going to happen to you and your family.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So not as more than like the idea of like Trump set the whole thing up as a big political stunt to get PR. I don't think that. But.
Yeah. I'm not convinced it was staged. I think that there's still questions that we're not going to get answers to that make it suspicious. I do think Corey Contemporary was shot. I think he was shot and he's dead. I mean, I think that's real.
Well, have you heard of his wife? His wife has now come out and said she thinks it's a setup and stage.
Yeah, because she's asking the same questions and she's like, hey, what the hell is going on? And here's a perfect example. And we can even get into the Charlie Kirk assassination, but that's maybe not the right place to go here. But my point is, I'm like barely even registering on the Richter scale, obviously, compared to a Trump or even a Charlie Kirk. And when I would go out with InfoWars and we do public speaking events like this, we had Delta Force Security, we had former cops. And I mean, just for little old me doing an event in a bulletproof truck, it's like even my security, they do advance They'd go look at rooftops. They'd go make sure they know all the different access points and all
Of
the
course.
rules and everything. For me, for little old me.
Yeah. Well, that's just basic physical security. Any, you got, your average, SF or Delta or Navy SEAL guys that do physical security are going to do all those things. That's just basics, right? That's a baseline, Owen, right? So the baseline didn't happen from the Secret Service, We're not even talking about high, crazy level things here. It's like, we're talking about, hey, that one roof, the only elevated position that has line of sight to the president, maybe put somebody at the access point to the one elevated position in the entire area. Like, this is like, you don't even almost have to, I could take somebody with zero experience, you know what I mean? And be like, hey, you got to protect the president. Here's the layout. And they're probably going to look at that second story building and be like, that seems like somewhere we should probably have covered.
Yeah, I'll put eyes on that building. Yeah.
Right. So
just a pair of eyes.
My point is, this isn't like UVU, right? You look at UVU, and I'm not trying to defend Charlie Kirk's security team because I think they did a terrible job, but UVU is a nightmare from a physical security standpoint, right? You're at the base of a bull.
Dude, they put him in a box. Base
of a bull. It's 360 degrees around you is elevated positions at multiple tiered layers and all these things. That is chaos, but Butler was not that. It's an open field with a building. It's like, no. You guys didn't secure that? Okay.
Yeah. So it makes you, you just continue to see Trump become everything that he was supposed to be against. You see Trump become the swamp, become the corrupt establishment, and all of a sudden you kind of have to rehash all of these things. You have to re-examine all of these things with this new info, with this new data, and say, okay, what the hell really happened there? Why aren't they getting answers? And there have been other assassination attempts against Trump, obviously. The attempt at his golf course. They shut that down pretty quick. That guy was not able to get it anywhere near enough to actually do any harm to the president. So it's like, that they have the capabilities. It's not to say that people don't make mistakes, but it's just, I don't know. I guess my point is now we just start to we have to re-examine everything. We have to re-examine everything that got us to this point with Trump. And we have to wonder, like you said, when did it go so sideways? Was there a moment? Was it a decision that he made? Was it always meant to be this way? It's like, these are the kinds of things that I'm wondering right now. And I don't really talk as much about it when I'm just covering the news or what we are or aren't getting out of the administration. But yeah, I go back and I wonder, why aren't they investigating Butler? Why isn't Trump going after the people that tried to put him in prison? It's like, what happened? Where is this vengeance? Where is the revenge tour that we were all hoping for? It's non-existent. It's all revenge for Netanyahu.
He does have that vindictive revenge in him, though, right? But it's directed at, I think, even you. You have taken more vengeance from the president online than Michael Crooks or Thomas Cole Allen has taken. He hasn't tweeted once about either of them, but he's tweeting about you and Candace and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, right? So it's like, he does it is there, right? But it's like, it's directed at the conservatives that no longer support him because he hasn't done anything he's going to say he's going to do. But he's got, to your point, Anthony Fauci is about to testify, and he's like, well, actually, Operation Warp Speed was fantastic. It's my greatest success. And you're like, what the fuck, dude?
Hey, whoa. Don't come after Sean Faresh's job here, all right? Nobody can do that.
But you know what I mean? Like, to your point, all the people you figure this guy is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to bring down the hammer. And he's out here attacking Owen Schroyer on True Social. And you're like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
I was gonna do this bit, just fuck it, do it live, right? I was like, I want to do this bit where it's like Trump actually is honest on the campaign. It's like Trump campaigning. It's like, we're going to go to war with Iran. There's going to be at least a couple dozen that come home in body bags. It's going to be great. We're going to have record high debt. It's going to be the highest debt you've ever seen. In fact, we're going to be paying $1 trillion annually just on the interest. It's going to be huge. Yeah. We're going to have the biggest deficit you've ever seen, record deficit. We're going to tariff you twice. That's right. You're going to pay for tariffs twice. You're going to pay for them first on the price. You're going to pay for them again when we have to bail out my friends. We're going to do insider trading, $100,000 a month for insider trading information from me, President Trump. It's going to be great. You're going to get maybe 5 million deportations. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. As far as deep state arrests, there'll be none. There'll be none. In fact, I kind of like Bill Clinton now. Kind of like him. Oh, and by the way, that whole Epstein thing, it's all fake. Don't look into that at all. Thank you very much.
Dude, that's so good. That's so good. But you're right. It's a parody, but that's actually what happened. That's actually what's happened.
There's no denying it. I mean, that's the facts.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you enjoyed that.
That's great, dude. You know, I think it's, but the thing is, like, would it have worked?
Nobody would have voted for him.
Exactly. They'd be like, no. But you know, it's my favorite thing, Owen, is like everybody that still spams, this is what I voted for.
No,
it's like,
don't even go there. Oh my God.
All of those things that Owen just said are what you voted for? Are you sure? I don't remember that. I don't remember that on the campaign trail.
That just gets back that just gets back to what you said at the beginning, where it's like, I've never seen a political cult like this. Never with Obama. I mean, that'd be like the only thing you could maybe point to was like an Obama. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this.
I mean, even with Biden, his own party would mercilessly, not all of them, right? But his own party, the progressives would mercilessly attack him.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're like, this is, I don't get it, man. It's like, if things are going good, like maybe you ignore some of the massive like insider trading and all this stuff. You're like, well, that's one of those things. That's kind of like what I feel like Trump term 1 was, right? Where I never really liked Trump personally, but I was like, you know what? He's doing a lot of good changes of the ROE and the military for us. The economy is good, right? And so people were like, we'll ignore the crazy shit that he's saying. Now, when everything's terrible, he's not. He was fun. It was funny then. He hasn't changed. It's just now that everything's terrible and he's done nothing that he's campaigned on. Now, like the crash outs on True Social, they're not funny. People are like, bro, gas is $5 a gallon. Shut the fuck up, dude. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, it's very cringe. It's gone from like it's gone from like the patriot vibe to just pure cringe.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this has been a blast, guys. You got to give our friend here, Valhalla VFT, a follow on his YouTube channel. There it is on the screen right there, at Valhalla VFT. Let's get him to 1 million. Let's do that. Let's see how
we're doing pretty good. I mean, our
you're kicking ass,
like I said,
ass.
our channel's about 2.5 years old now, so we're doing well, man. I appreciate all the support from everybody. And yeah, man, we got to get you on my show next.
Yeah, let's do that next. I'm telling you, people have been asking for this collab for a while. We finally made it happen. It's been a blast. Great stuff. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for your time. Go give Valhalla VFT on YouTube a follow. Hey, Nate, appreciate you. Great time today, brother.
Yep. All right. See you guys.
Well, there it is, guys. That was great. That was fun. You asked, we delivered. Beautiful. Perfect execution. All right. I'm going to take a break. We've got another guest coming up next. We have David Pollock, host of David Pollock Primetime on OAN. He will be joining me next. And we'll try to, we'll see what we can do with the rest of the news today. We went a little long there. I couldn't cut that interview short. That was too much fun. So we'll see what we can do with the rest of the news. But David Pollock coming up next on the Owen Report.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
Folks, you're thinking about your finances. You're thinking about the U.S. dollar. You're thinking about the economy, and you want to make pragmatic, smart decisions. So you might be thinking about gold. You might be thinking about precious metals. How could you not be? I know I am. That's why I go with Allegiance Gold, the official sponsor of the Owen Report. They can help you get into gold and silver as a safety net, as a diversification of your wealth. All you got to do is give them a call. The call is free, 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. And when you've got them on the phone, ask them about $5,000 in free gold and silver. You heard that right. $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments, whether through your 401k, IRA, or savings. They make it simple to move into something real before the next reset. Now listen to this. When you're making decisions about your wealth, about your finances, there's something you need with the company that you are working with, and that is an A+ review with the Better Business Bureau. You got to have it. Allegiance Gold, nearly 10,000 clients nationwide, A-plus review with the Better Business Bureau. Can't beat that. So give them a call, 844-790-9191. And if you're like me, you want to have that gold, you want to have that silver, something you can hold on to as a safety net that will maintain its value, prove in the course of time. So go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. Protect your wealth because no one else will.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, waiting for our guest to join. Figured let's just come back here live on air. We'll just handle that live whenever he's ready. Running a little behind with some things, recording for his show tonight. This gives me a minute to perhaps get into some of these other news stories. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to the fake food the Trump administration is going to be plating for you ahead of the midterms. Trump administration pauses immigrant visa applications. Now, we covered some of this yesterday, but this has nothing to do with the mass deportations. Now, again, I'm not complaining about this. I want to be clear. This is what needs to be done. I'm for an immigration moratorium. We need 20 million minimum mass deportations. But this is not what it appears to be. And in fact, they're still bringing in the H-1Bs as this is happening. So again, this is the Trump administration plating fake food, making you think this is promises made, promises delivered, and this has nothing to do with it. Just like the asylum thing from yesterday. They say, oh, we're pausing all of these asylum seekers. These are people that are not even in the country. These are people that are sitting in a digital database. That's all it is. They just hit delete on a database. No mass deportations, nothing to do with what happened in the Biden administration. And this is the same thing. So they're going to try to plate these stories ahead of the midterms to make you think that, oh, see, something is getting done, but it's really nothing. And at the bottom of this, what you find is it's really about screening people that are not friendly to Israel. Trump admin pauses visa appointments worldwide amid heightened screening for applicants. And they're basically scrolling through everything they can on social media. And if you're anti-Israel, they stop you right there. You're not coming in. So that's really what this is. But this is Palmer Luckey explaining it. And again, I tell you the exact same thing. But this is how it really works. They pretend like they're stopping the illegal immigration, but that's just because they're flooding the country with H-1B visa workers.
Of course, there's so much H-1B abuse. You would not believe what I saw when I was in Silicon Valley. It is insane. It's obviously a program to try and replace U.S. workers with basically slave labor that can't ever escape. H-1B abuse is crazy. Of course, there's so much H-1B abuse.
And now there's a new Silicon Valley in Texas, and now the same thing is happening in Texas. Here's another one. Pentagon claims to have found hidden files on final days of the Afghanistan war. Republicans have long accused President Biden of covering up mistakes made in the final days of the conflict. So this is just like the burn bags. This is like the FBI burn bags. Oh, we've got hidden documents on the Russia hoax. We got hidden documents on the Trump Mar-a-Lago raid. We've got these burn bags, all this stuff. And then nothing happens. It's the same thing. It's the new burn bags. Oh, hidden files. Nothing ever happens. And it's one of the craziest things. It's like, you know, faking out a dog with a tennis ball, you know? It's like you're playing fetch with the dog, and then you fake the throw, and then the dog goes sprinting down the road to catch the ball. It's like that's what MAGA is. It's just Trump pump faking a tennis ball, and then they sprint down the road and it's not there. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes. And then Sean Parnell came out and did it wasn't a press conference. He just did a video explaining that, oh, they're hiding this stuff. It's a big story. And it's just, we've been here before. We've been here with Tulsi Gabbard. We've been here with the burn bags. We've been here with Dan Bongino. Let me know if and when you guys ever arrest somebody. It would be really nice if you guys could just let me know when that happens. I'll be here to report on it. But until then, I don't do hype. We're not going to do hype. We're going to do results. All right, well, that should be a fun way of introducing my next guest, David Pollack, the host of David Pollack Prime Time on OAN. Joins me now. David, how are we doing? What makes you think you can be late to my show?
I don't hear.
You can't hear me? Oh, get your producers on there. What are they doing over there in San Diego? Somebody get this man on.
I don't hear you.
Now. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna talk, and you let me know when you can hear me. That's got to be something on your end, brother. There he goes. What are those guys over at OAN doing, man? Can you get a guy audio? What does it take? What does it take to get a guy audio? All right. Like one, batter up. Here's the second pitch. David, do we have you?
Now I hear you. For some reason, the audio just disappeared on me, brother. But I can hear you now.
You know, some people would say that's a good thing. They don't want to hear me. You know,
Well,
they say we don't want to hear Schroyer. We've had
maybe
enough.
my phone was exercising better judgment than me. I think that's probably what happened here.
Actually, that's probably true. Our phones are now run by the AI algorithm, and it said no. It said you're not allowed.
Sure.
Did you just record, or are you getting ready to shoot for prime
I just
time?
walked off the set. I just recorded, and I ran downstairs from the studio into my office here for this.
How are things over there? How are things over at the San Diego headquarters?
It's actually really good. I mean, you know the story of OAN, and they tried to take us off the air after the 2020 election. What a lot of people don't know is that this is a family-owned network, and Robert Herring Sr., the founder of this network, he went into his own pocket and kept this network on the air when they tried to deplatform us for telling the truth. And you know, for years he kept this online, and now we're distributed almost everywhere again. We're in I think 80 million or 30 million homes. We're in a lot of homes again, and we're profitable. So the network's doing great, all thanks to Robert Herring Sr. And it's a great family-owned company to work for. I'm thrilled to be here every single day. I get to live my dream here.
You know what? And it really is such a success story because OAN is one of the few actual, you call it a cable news network. You guys are more dynamic than that. But OAN is one of the few cable news networks that actually has a pretty good diversity, you know, mostly right-leaning hosts, obviously, mostly right-leaning American patriots, but a pretty good diversity on separate issues. You know, you get a pretty wide range of where the different aspects of right-wing politics are now. But aside from that, the fact that I remember when they were ripping you guys off of all the major broadcast networks, I haven't been following it as much now, but you're saying you guys have been returned to every network now? You guys are back?
There's a couple we're still hoping for. I believe DirecTV, we're still hoping we get back on there. Verizon, we're hoping to get back on there. But we're on YouTube TV now. We're on Spectrum Charter. We're on Dish. We're on Sling, and you know a lot of other Cloud TV and a lot of other places. So we're back to almost everywhere we used to be, and we're just a few more networks we're hoping to come online and deliver our content back to the people who desperately want it.
And guys, David puts me on his show. So there you go. What other cable news network does that? None.
I mean, look. Oh, and look, you know, and this is something, and I get crap no matter who I put on my show. I bring liberals on, I debate them. I get, you know, people get disappointed that I'm platforming them. I bring on people to have conversations. I don't think there's anything harmful in hearing people's side of things and having conversations. I think we're all adults in America, and I think at least our side, we can decide for ourselves what we like, don't like, and want to believe and not believe. And that's the other great thing about this network, as you mentioned, the hosts do have different opinions about things. And you know, Matt Gaetz and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things with respect to Israel, but it's okay. We get along great, and we do a podcast together. You don't have to agree on everything in order to get along with people. And so that, and this network allows us to have different opinions. And so that's why, look, that's why I love having you on the show. I love coming on your show. I know people are like, oh my gosh, but whatever, you know, people have issues with whoever they have issues with, but it doesn't mean we can't have conversations. And that's been my philosophy in all of this.
And I remember when we were talking, you guys may recognize David from the walk away debate panel that we did a couple months ago.
Oh man.
and we were talking about that before we got into the political debate. We said, hey, you know, I grew up, my culture of politics is you debate with everybody. You debate with your friends, you debate with your family, and it's good. It's like, that's what you do. You don't want to just be in a cult. You want to debate. You want to be able to disagree and then break bread. Iron sharpens iron. Right. So I don't know if I would say it's not like a completely lost art, obviously, as you're still doing it. But it is weird how there's this new culture that like shies away in politics. It's like, oh, I don't want to do the debate. Oh, it's too controversial. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's dying. Maybe that's dying down. I hope it is.
You know, people, I don't like saying like, just because everyone else uses a term, we should use the term. I don't like the term woke right. But the reason why that term was created is because it created this environment where we do what the left does. And the left, they don't tolerate conversations. One of the reasons why we were deplatformed as a network is because the left didn't want OAN to have a voice because they didn't like what OAN had to say. I mean, we can't do the same thing on our side and say, you know what, we're not going to give this person a platform. We're not going to have these conversations because we don't like what they have to say. That's not our job. And so, yeah, I hope we can move past that. I hope we can get to a place where we can have conversations, even uncomfortable ones we don't like. It doesn't necessarily reflect a belief. It reflects a level of communication that's very American. We believe in free speech, and that has to mean something. So I hope so, but I try to practice what I preach. I'll have conversations with anybody. I'll bring people on the show. I was having a back and forth with somebody online today because I'm having the CEO of Rainmaker. There was a special that I'm airing on September 7th on OAN about the technology of controlling the weather, and have the CEO Augustus of Rainmaker. Great dude. I went into that interview thinking something completely wrong about rainmaking. And then I learned about what they did, and it changed my mind on it. And I have all these people on social media because he's going viral because he made like 19 million gallons of snow in Alaska. And everybody's losing their mind. They're like, I was like, come check out the special. I don't need to hear it. They're destroying their. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene was chiming in on it. And the reality is, sometimes you might learn something if you listen to another perspective. And I don't understand this whole idea that we're not allowed to have conversations with people just because there's a preconceived narrative in our head and we're supposed to guard that narrative. We don't guard narratives. We invent them, right? We figure them out as we go. We are the guardians of the narrative.
I remember when I talked to Augustus, this is probably over a year ago now. This was after the Texas floods, and he was kind of in the hairs of controversy after that, because he had a contract to do some cloud seeding here. And I understand why people might have no tolerance with the technology. I understand why people might have, fair and reasonable questions about, the potential ramifications of it. There's no doubt that that is a fair debate to be had. But I kind of reached the same conclusion as you. And I take it a step further, and I'm like, look, let's understand the difference between what he's doing on a very small scale versus if you're somebody like me that thinks, somebody's up there spraying chemicals in the sky. I mean, we know about the aluminum, the barium, and everything else that they're spraying up there. So it's like, in a way, not only is it just, okay, he's kind of talking about the science of what he does, but it's like, yeah, guys, this is obviously happening, and he's just telling you it. It's like he's actually being open and honest about it, where it's like we have to comb through NASA documents to find their videos and documents about how, they're cloud seeding too, and they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah, it's been going on for 100 years. And the cool thing about it is, and this is why I hope everybody watches that special on September 7th at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's really cool because not only did he describe how the process works and how they make it rain, and basically they're just taking moisture that's already in the clouds, and they're putting, like you mentioned, the silver nitrate, I believe it is, and it binds the rain together to make it be able to fall. So it's taking what's already in the clouds and not falling, and making it fall in places that really need the moisture. But what it does is it primarily does in snow. So as the snow melts, it delivers water downstream to the people who need it. And they're working on organics where don't even have to use silver nitrate. They can use organic compounds to do the same thing. They're really a forward-thinking company, and you got to watch the special. But the way he described it to me, which I thought was fascinating, he said, because I asked him, I was like, well, aren't you worried about manipulating the weather and having a downstream effect that is inevitably unforeseen? And he goes, man, we reroute rivers to bring water to Phoenix. He said, I'm just making it rain, water from a cloud and pulling it down. We've dammed some of the largest rivers in the world to create energy. And he says, we're not having nearly that much of an impact. And once he explained it to me that way, I'm like, why are we so afraid of the new technology of doing what we've always done? And that's interfered with the riparian rights given from God. So it's going to be a really interesting special. I didn't mean to get on a tangent of it, but it just goes to prove the point of there's two sides to every story, and you can sometimes learn a little bit if you open your ears a little bit. And that's, again, why I'm excited to have these conversations.
Well, I like the debate. I like the transparency. All right, let's get into the political wonk.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you think? We're 69 days till the midterms, and you know where I stand on things. I don't think it's looking very good for the Republicans. Maybe the Senate, there's a chance there. The House, I'm not so sure there's any chance there. How do you feel heading into the midterms?
I'm feeling pretty good about it, and here's why. And I did a monologue about this the other day on my show. I think there are two essentially factions, and let me kind of break it down a little bit. I think the Trump base, because we talk a lot in Brandon's debates, we talk a lot about the Trump base, and the base isn't unified. The coalition is ruined. We hear a lot about that on our side, and people are disappointed in Trump. But you got to look at what the coalition is and why it came to be to begin with, on our side at least. The coalition was a bunch of people, because I remember, I've been a Republican my whole life, but I remember in 2015 when Donald Trump came down an escalator and he started saying things that I've believed my whole life that I've always wished a Republican would say, and I got really excited. And a lot of people did. Trump says the things that people want to hear from somebody who's framed as an outsider. And so there was a lot of people who weren't traditional Republicans who really liked that outsider perspective. You know, we have Trump was our Bernie Sanders. If you're on the left really wanted Bernie Sanders. And instead, they were force fed Hillary Clinton. The idea is there's a group of people who are fed up with the establishment, the uniparty, the government in general. They're sick of it because every election they vote for somebody. And look, there's a lot of criticisms here about President Trump. So everything I'm about to say, I'm sure you and some of your listeners will say, see, yeah, we agree with you, David. That's Donald Trump. Because I think what happens is a lot of people, when they look at the government, they feel like it doesn't matter who they vote for, Democrat or Republican. The wars start and end. The drone strikes continue. The taxes keep going up. The deficit still goes up. Your groceries still go up. No matter who you vote for, your life never changes, right? It seems like the government just operates on autopilot and you're really here just to serve it. And Donald Trump's message was different than that. So people were really excited about that. An outsider who's going to come in and do what we've always hoped an outsider would do. And I think a lot of people would agree. That's why they voted for Donald Trump to begin with. And then, of course, the 2020 election, the lawfare in the wake of the 2020 election, when people voted for Trump in 24, again, they were voting for another outsider. They were voting for somebody, again, who was going to go take a wrecking ball to this government that for their entire lives have never served them. So I get all of that. And I think we can agree that's a pretty good premise of what the coalition was built on, right? The promises of something different, right? So here's where I think a lot of the disagreements are coming. Because I always said in 2020 when Trump ran, he was going to have a hard time because he was an outsider. It's hard for an outsider to run for reelection on the inside as an outsider. Right now, you are the establishment. Once you control the government, you can't look from the outside and point a finger in and say it's their fault because you're living in the swamp. So if the swamp is messy, well, it was your job to clean it up. So I thought 2020 was going to be challenging for Trump. I thought he won in 2020, but I think he got lucky by the result because he was able to yet again run as an outsider in 24, expose a lot of deep state corruption that wouldn't have been exposed. We knew about it, but it was being hidden, but really exposed in the wake of 2020. Now, that being said, 2024 happened. An outsider was sent to Washington again. But I think where we're at right now, and this is a very long-winded way of answering your question. I think where we are right now is that there's still a faction in the Republican Party or even in the MAGA coalition who's anti-government, who's anti-uniparty, anti-establishment, and really wants everything they were promised. And I think the left has the exact same problem. You have the Democratic Socialists of America, and the Democrat establishment is not happy that they're there. And the Democratic Socialists of America want something completely different than Democrats do. They want something completely different than all Americans do. But the difference is, and this is why, to answer your question, why I think we're going to do better in November than a lot of people think. MAGA endorsed candidates are winning by and large, almost exclusively. We've lost maybe 10 or 12 races of Trump endorsed candidates, but we've won hundreds. The Democratic Socialists, though, they're separatists. They're also winning. So our separatists, our James Fishbacks, our Dan Blazerians, they're losing. So the separatists in our movement are losing. The separatists on the Democratic side are winning. And that's a minority of the party. So you have people now under the Democratic ticket that have nothing in common with the Democrat establishment winning. And you have people in the Republican side, we'll call it the Trump establishment, they're winning. And so you got to remember, not all of our voters are on social media. A lot of them are older. A lot of them have no idea what's going on between the MAGA America First dispute. So I think when people go to pull the lever, and by the way, turnout is still favoring Republicans by a way higher number in most states than on the left. The left is not excited about anything except for the Democratic Socialists.
I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to pause you right there. I'm not so sure the numbers are favoring. I will tell you though, this is one of the hardest when I crunch these numbers, and I've been doing election data since 2016. It's hard. This is the hardest midterm to crunch data and get a clear picture ahead of the midterms, just for whatever reason, the different breakdowns. The things that I'm noticing that are a little concerning are, I don't think the numbers in Michigan right now look good for President Trump. That's going to be an important Senate race that they're going to have to look at. I think Pennsylvania is sliding the wrong direction, and you're going to end up with John Fetterman as a Republican, which will be ironic because I kind of think that it's going to be a 50-50 split after the midterms. You're going to have 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats, and then Fetterman will probably flip to be a Republican and give them a majority. That's kind of actually what I think may happen here, which will be ironic beyond anybody's belief. But we'll deal with that when we get there. I don't know. I look at some of these statewide races, and I don't like the numbers for the Republicans right now in Michigan. I'm not so sure I like the numbers in North Carolina. The numbers in Georgia are horrible. The numbers in Georgia are really bad. So really, you're looking at you're begging for Alaska right now. If you're Republicans in the Senate, you're begging for Alaska.
Yeah. Well, look, the numbers never really tell the full story, and the numbers are rarely accurate or correct. And what we're looking at is primary numbers too. And so what we have to look at is in the general, what are people going to show up for and who they're going to show up for. I agree. Places like Michigan might be a problem, but I don't know. It all depends on the general. I like to believe that the primaries are an indication based on turnout that there's a more enthusiasm on the right than we believe that's there. And I'd like to believe that the enthusiasm for the candidates that are winning on the left is going to be lowered by the candidates they're putting forward. It's really all about the top of the ticket. Trump isn't on the top of the ticket. A lot of people are criticizing his policies. So it really depends on who's at the top of the ticket and whether they can drive out either the MAGA base or the coalition. I don't think the coalition's carrying this election. I think the base is. So I think where in these national elections, the coalition is way more important than the
who's the
statewide
base
elections.
then? We'll agree that the coalition is not what it once was.
Yeah, Republicans. I think look, before the MAGA coalition existed, it was always Democrats, Republicans, libertarians voting, either not voting or voting for who they wanted to vote for, and then a couple of like third party or fourth party or non-affiliate voters voting for whoever they showed.
David, the problem that you have with that is Trump has never really, even the Republicans since 2016, they've never won an election with the Republican base. They've only won elections with the MAGA coalition.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. But I think two things have happened since then. And I agree with you completely. I've always said if Trump's not at the top of the ticket, the Republicans lose. And let me be very clear. I'm not a company man for the Republican Party. I was ready to leave the Republican Party after 2020, when not only did we have devastating midterm losses in the red waves that weren't time and time again when Trump wasn't at the top of the ticket, but also their inability to stand behind President Trump when he was engaging in when he was undergoing some of the worst lawfare we've ever seen as a country. And with January 6th and all these things, the Republicans were extremely disappointing, and I was done with them. In 2020, 2022, I was like, I'm done with the Republican Party. I'm a MAGA guy. And a lot of people were like, remember we all wanted Trump. Well, I don't know if you did, but I know I wanted Trump to start his own third party. Right? I mean, I did not align with the Republican.
Yeah, well, those were the rumors when they were trying to choke him out of the GOP in 2016.
Right. The Republicans tried to choke Trump out, and I'm a Trump Republican. That's the kind of Republican I am. I don't know what the kind of Republican.
Remember, they said we want Trump to make a pledge. He won't run third party, and he said no. That's how concerned they were.
That's right. And remember what they tried to do. You had, and look, I think Governor DeSantis has been an amazing governor in Florida, but Governor DeSantis went full war against him. It was Vivek Ramaswamy who showed up in Miami when they were charging him in federal court. DeSantis did nothing to help Trump. You had Nikki Haley's and Chris Christie's of the world looking to take him out, totally disloyal to President Trump. I mean, the party came for President Trump, but here's what's changed though. And this is why, by the way, Republicans historically have lost when Trump wasn't at the top of the ticket, because all of us Republicans, us MAGA Republicans, were like, screw these guys. Now, what's changed, though, since 2020 is a lot of these establishment Republicans, well, they're on their way out. There's a lot of actual big upsets. Now, I don't want to get into Thomas Massey because I know it's going to upset some people. But if you look at Senator Cornyn, if you look at Senator Cassidy, if you look at Chip Roy, I mean, you can go through all these people who stood in Trump's way. They're on their way out of the party. Mitch McConnell, God bless his soul, wherever he is, he's gone. So there's a lot of people who have really been challenging for President Trump, gone, and he's being replaced with MAGA Republicans. There's a lot more MAGA Republicans in the Republican Party than there was. And I think, and again, I don't know this to be true, but 2024 is going to be the big test about whether or not this Republican Party has moved more to the side of MAGA, even though, yes, we lost a coalition, we've lost a lot of the libertarians and the folks who are
America even mean anymore? MAGA means nothing.
Great question.
Now. MAGA means absolutely nothing to me now. People want to put, I'm done with MAGA. I'm out. Whatever MAGA is, it's not me.
And it is a fair point. I've struggled to define MAGA. I've done several shows about what is MAGA.
Well, I'll even direct this a little bit more, because you did an interview with Brendan Strock and you said you were clarifying MAGA versus America First. I mean, that was even the starting point, the genesis of the debate that we had a couple months ago. But it seems like, is that where you're kind of drawing the line of somebody like me that says, hey, I'm not MAGA anymore? Would you say I'm America first
No,
now?
I still think you're MAGA, but I'm not going to call you names. But what I mean by that is, um, for me, the way I've always understood MAGA, and I've tried to explain this to liberals who are like, how do you vote for Trump? He's so bad. The way I understand MAGA to be, in my mind, what MAGA is a political party that answers to its actual voters versus answering to a machine, the swamp. To me, being MAGA means you're anti-establishment, anti-Union Party, anti-swamp. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's what MAGA is now, right? Because they haven't thrown anybody in jail. They're doing everything that the Republicans did. Now they just call it MAGA. But for me, that doesn't change the definition of MAGA. That's the establishment maybe taking more control over MAGA than I believe they should, but the ideals and the principles of MAGA, to me, still exist. And making America great again means not putting any political party over the people. And maybe that's not the reflection of the party at the moment, but I still aspire to see a party that reflects those values. And I'll work within the Republican Party to ensure that the type of candidates that we promote will put people before party. And it's hard to do in a political party that wants to control everything. But in my mind, that's what MAGA is. So MAGA is not dead. It's just being redefined. And I believe you're MAGA too. You disagree with the
No.
policies of President Trump.
Whatever this MAGA is now, I am not MAGA. I
Right.
want
And
nothing
that's
to do with it.
fair. But you still are probably not a big government guy. You probably
No.
don't want a strong political party. You don't want foreign intervention or foreign
But then,
wars.
so David, so then how do you address this? Like I can I'll just put issues down on the table and I'll say,
Yeah.
well, what makes me MAGA? Or why would I have ever be considered MAGA or considered myself MAGA? Well, like Trump, in 2016, Trump said he would get the debt to zero. Trump's going to leave office responsible for 1/3 of this country's debt. I mean, that is an astronomical number. I mean, it's an unreal number. There's nothing conservative about that. That is quite the opposite of what he ran on in 2016, and it's quite the opposite of fiscal conservatism. Now, maybe you have an excuses for that or you don't mind. You say it's what has to be done. But I'm saying for me, MAGA is cutting the debt, cutting the deficit. He's not doing that. I mean, that's just point blank. It's just not happening. There's always going to be debates over foreign policy. No, that's always going to happen. You're always going to have debates over foreign policy. Maybe, the ebbs and flows of different election cycles, but that's one that mattered to me. No new wars. That matters to me. Being stuck in Iran now for months and months and months, I'm pissed. I'm pissed at that. I don't want to go vote for Republicans that support that. How do you ever win somebody back like me? I mean, let's just talk on grounds of the midterms. I feel like I probably represent 10% of the voter base that the Republicans need to vote in the midterms in order to save the Senate. I don't think we're voting Republican. I don't know if we're voting Democrat, but I don't think people are showing up to vote Republican. How do you convince somebody like me to go vote Republican when the things that I care about the most aren't happening?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. You have to separate, and this is a crazy thing to say, because there is a lot of people who believe MAGA means, extreme loyalty to President Trump above all else, and you have to like everything he does. That's MAGA. That's what people call the MAGA cult. That's not my and that's not my MAGA. Now, I support almost everything the president has done, but that's not because it's MAGA. I just think he's doing a good job as a Republican president compared to other Republican presidents that we've had. But that being said, I think MAGA is more than President Trump, and maybe he created the movement, but I believe it transcends him. And for me, I can understand the deficit. The deficit is a conservative policy. If you're a fiscal conservative, and maybe Trump at one time advocated for fiscally conservative policies and eliminating the debt, that's a conservative philosophy. It's not a MAGA philosophy. Fiscal conservatism has been around for decades, and there's a lot of people who think the deficit is the greatest threat we're facing as a nation. But that is beyond MAGA, right? That existed before MAGA. And maybe Trump promised you to do something about the deficit. And I believe there's reasons why the deficit is a little more challenging than he would like, but I do believe he's doing things to fix it. But that being said, I can separate MAGA from the deficit. Talk about wars. You talk about Iran. Now, foreign wars has existed before MAGA. Now, if you're a MAGA person, and I am not necessarily an interventionalist. I don't think we should go around the world getting involved in other people's wars. I think Iran is a little bit different. I don't look at Iran as being like in Afghanistan. I don't look at Iran as being in Iraq. I think Iran's a little bit different, but we can get into that later. But the idea is that's President Trump policy. But being MAGA could mean, and it always has been, that you're against those foreign wars. So you can argue, Owen, and I think it's a fair argument to make, that Maybe President Trump isn't as MAGA as you want him to be, but I think MAGA is still there. I think President Trump might be disappointing you on some of his policies as a Republican president, but I do believe there's a difference between the two. I don't think MAGA is blind loyalty to President Trump. At least I don't personally believe that it is.
Well, really, at the end of the day, MAGA is just a brand. It's just
Correct.
a brand. It's just a campaign slogan. And what we're talking about now are results. And for somebody like me, and I think millions of Americans, we're just not getting the results. Now, I'm fine, and I hear this a lot. They're like, "Oh, Owen's mad. He didn't get everything he voted for. He's pounding on the desk." And you know what? I'm like, fine. So what? I get to vote. I get to vote just like you. If I don't like what I'm getting, I can vote whoever I want. So it's not really, that doesn't really hit for me. But I don't even think it's that simple, because Trump ran on no new wars. And I guess if you want to debate semantics about is it a new war with Iran or not, I mean, to me it is. The perception to most Americans it is. Trump ran on fiscal conservatism. I don't think anybody can make a clear case that that is happening at all. And so it's just like, I don't know. I think that there's going to be people that you can't convince. I think it's too late. It's too late to convince the 10% faction that just is really upset with Trump, to put it lightly. I think it's too late to convince them. And I think because of that, the Democrats will take the House, and, the Senate is going to be tough. I don't think it's good a campaign strategy for Trump to be campaigning on if we lose, the Democrats are going to impeach me. Somebody needs to tell him to stop saying that. That's actually like popular now. I'm giving Trump millions of dollars of political advice for free here. Mr. President, don't say that. Okay? If you want Republicans to win, do not say that. People want that now. Don't say that.
No. Look, I think when it comes to November, you're going to have to choose between one platform or another, and you're going to have to vote based on it. Now, you're right. Maybe 10% of the people don't vote because they said, I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. That's happened before. But I think the Democrats are going to have the same problem. I don't think it's just a Republican problem. I think there might be a portion of the Republican, or let's call it the Trump base, because I don't believe all Trump voters are Republican. I think a lot aren't. That 10% that you mentioned, I think it's a coalition of libertarians, disaffected Democrats, independents, non-party affiliates, and the like, and maybe even some disaffected Republicans. That's really the coalition along with the Republican base and the political establishment of the right. So the coalition is a broad voting group. But historically, you got to go back. Other than Joe Biden, who got 88 million votes, of course, the most votes any president ever got.
Yeah.
Other than Joe Biden, who got more votes than God could get in an election, just so happened to get him. Well, fine. Nothing happened there. No proof that election was stolen, right? So other than Joe Biden, people don't usually vote in elections. They don't care. And it wasn't honestly until 2016, Obama really started it. Obama was so popular that more people voted for Obama than really voted in presidential elections for a long time. A lot of those were Republicans who were sick of the Republican Party, who fell for Barack Obama's BS of hope and change. And then they learned who he
for
was.
Trump. A lot of those people disenfranchised.
That's a great point.
Voted for Trump.
Well, that's a great point, though. And this is what I'm saying is, you have these people who ordinarily never voted. Very few people, and you got to go back and look. Nobody gave a crap, for the most part, about who they voted for. Nobody put political signs in their yards. Nobody asked people who they were voting for. If I asked my mom who she was voting for, she would say it was none of your business. Nobody really cared about politics, right? Until really Obama and then Trump. That's when everybody got super hyper engaged in politics and people started showing up. And then, of course, 2020 and then 2024. So the question is are people going to stay super hyperly engaged in presidential politics? Or do we go back to milquetoast politics where basically they're like, I don't care, I'm not voting, it doesn't make a difference? And if we get to that, that's where the bases turn out and win or lose elections like it was before Barack Obama. And I believe that is the potential. I think we have to see that is this year. And it matters on how many people turn up. If the left has the same issue we do, if Democratic Socialists are on the ballot and Democrats are like, I'm not supporting these people, the James Carvilles of the world, when 10% of the Democrat, or actually a larger portion of the Democrats, stay home, well, then we win, because Republicans' base will turn out. It'll be Republicans versus Democrats, and the rest of the coalition will kind of cancel each other out. That's yet to be seen whether or not that happens, Owen, but I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Well, I have to say, when it comes to the numbers, you make an interesting case about the base. And I do think, to a certain extent, the Democrats have a similar problem with the DSA that maybe MAGA or former MAGA Republicans might have with the Trump administration right now. that may end up being the determining factor. I really think that I say this a lot now because I think the data just proves it. The reason why Obama was such a phenomenon is because he took a very strong stance against Bush's foreign policy in the Middle East. And you remember, that was Hillary's election, right? I mean, that was supposed to be Hillary's year. She was supposed to get the nomination and walk into the White House. That was the plan. And Obama kind of stunned that. Obama kind of came in and stunted that deal. And I'm sure Hillary's still bitter about that to this day. I mean, she's probably a very bitter person. But I think that was on foreign policy. Obama campaigned against the Bush foreign policy a lot harder than Hillary Clinton. He campaigned against the foreign policy against McCain, and ultimately he won 2 elections. Now, Obama ended up just going back into the Middle East like everybody else. Obama intervened in the Middle East just as much as Bush. I mean, you can debate the semantics of it. But his voters felt betrayed. Democrat voters felt betrayed. They voted for Obama because he ran against Bush's Middle East foreign policy, and then he basically exhibited the exact Middle East foreign policy as Bush. And that's why I think voted for Trump. And so I see the same thing happening now. That same 10, 15% that say voted for Obama, then voted for Trump, they're looking at Trump now like the right-wing Obama, and they're just going to go back to the next left-wing candidate that runs against the foreign policy. And now the Democrats have that opportunity. I think that you may have mentioned this at the beginning of this segment. The problem now is how do you run against the establishment when you're in power? And I think that this is going to be the hill that J.D. Vance has to climb. This is going to be kind of the hill that the Republicans have to climb. It's like they're going to run on all this stuff, and it's like, hey, we just did this. They're saying this is the most important midterms. You got to vote for us to do other stuff. And we're like, we just did this. It's like we just did this 2 years ago. Now we have to play the same game. So I don't know. I think the foreign policy is going to be what flips it. I really do. And I think unless Trump can draw this thing down, 2028 is going to go to the Democrats.
It's a good point. I don't know if the war and foreign affairs is the deciding factor, though, for a lot of the voters. And I understand what you're saying, but I believe Hillary Clinton lost because of the Rust Belt. It was manufacturing. She didn't go to Michigan and Minnesota because she thought she had it in the bag because the unions always voted blue. I think why Obama was successful and why Trump was successful was because you have a situation where the voters felt ignored. I really think that populism was more of a factor than foreign affairs was. I don't think people really pay that much attention. Even if you poll people on Iran, most people think, yeah, I have no problem with the war in Iran. Most people are just really kind of numb to being involved in foreign wars.
Nah, the polls indicate they're against the war. Most Americans are against the war, left and right.
Well, they might be against it, but it's not going to change the way they vote. I don't think Obama won because they were mad about Bush's war. I think Obama won because Obama appeared as an outsider who was eloquent and who really said hope and change. We're changing from this establishment. Obama was a populist, essentially, and so was Trump. And so was Bernie Sanders, by the way. They loved Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders said, no wars, just like Trump. Bernie Sanders, I'm sure, would have spent just as much money as Trump. I think at the end of the day, I think what voters are desperate for, and maybe foreign wars is part of it, I think what voters are desperate for are people that are different from these political establishments that they feel powerless to control. I think Americans at their core don't trust government, and they feel like government got too big, and people feel like they have no access to their government. And any candidate that makes them feel like they're part of the government, they have more of a say than they have, I think that's who they vote for. And maybe the foreign wars might have something to do with it. I don't know, but I think it's more fundamental than that. I think it's not policy based. I think it's instinctual. Americans are sick and tired of governments that don't listen to them. And a lot of people on the right and the left are echoing this right now. Trump has become the government. And I understand people are still upset about the wars. People are still upset about the deficit because now Trump is the government. People still don't like the government. And I think that number is growing. And I think that's just going to happen when you live in a country as big as ours and a republic as big as ours, with more and more people and less access to the people in power. And I think really that's what's at play here more than the wars. But yes, people don't like the wars. People don't like the deficit. People don't like prices. People don't like gas. They don't like all of it. But at the end of the day, if you do show up to vote, I think people are going to have a very clear decision to make. Do you vote for the Democratic Socialists who are winning, or do you vote for the MAGA candidates that are winning? And I have a feeling they're going to pull the lever for the MAGA candidates and probably still be upset.
Well, maybe we have a friendly wager sometime down the line. I like to see who's willing to put their money where their mouth is. David Pollack probably is. You can watch his show tonight, OAN Network, David Pollack Primetime. David, thank you for your time today. Glad to catch up with you. And
great time.
We'll do all of this again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you, my friend.
All right, there goes David. Check him out on OAN Network, guys. Really nice to have at least somebody out there in the network news that's not just total propaganda. And there you go. All right. Well, we're coming up to the end of the show. Guys, I'm going to put aside the rest of the news for this evening. We can carry it over to tomorrow. In fact, I already know that some of these stories on my desk are going to be even more relevant tomorrow, so I really don't mind delaying that. And we've got quite a few super chats today on YouTube, so I want to make sure we have plenty of time for our super chats. Guys, please give us a follow on YouTube. Really helps grow the show. Really appreciate that. Give us a follow on YouTube. The Owen Report on YouTube really helps us grow the show. We appreciate that. And that's where we go to our super chats at the end of every show, like we do now. Does Vault $17 billion to trick Americans into backing digital ID? Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the beginning of that. I think it's part of that puzzle. I do. I think that's right. Exposed. Who's your favorite actors? Mine's Rand Paul and Josh Hawley. They always play a good role as the good guys. Yeah, Hawley just announced, this just happened when I was on air, and it's just going to fit into my Flock stack tomorrow. Hawley just announced that he's going to be leading an investigation into Flock in Missouri. And I wonder if this has anything to do with last night. There was a big Flock protest at the Festus, I believe it was Festus, Missouri. Big Flock protest at a city council. The building was overflowed. They actually had to move it to a local gymnasium, and it was still an overflow issue. So thousands of people showed up, all against the Flock cameras and the data center deals that they're trying to bring to Missouri. 100% of the thousands of people that showed up were against it, and then they just voted and they approved it anyway. It's just like total corruption. It's like, who do you even represent? So I don't know if that's what spurred Hawley to announce this, but we'll catch up with that tomorrow. We'll get more into that tomorrow. I'd say public schools are just as harmful to kids. See, there you go. Case made. Who disagreed? Maybe more harmful, intentionally harmful. Wooded Bagley, I set my Tinder to Washington, D.C. Going to try to reverse honeypot one of those old hags, push a few of my personal issues. Going to be railing lines of crash out energy off Nancy Mace's tattooed ass soon. Oh, man. Let me just say this, though, about Nancy Mace. She's got a vision, guys. And she gets a hard time, and people don't like her, and that's fine. Whatever. It's politics. It's media. It's always going to be personality issues. She actually is smart. The way she's doing this and doing her show is actually smart. She's going to end up being successful with it. But you know what? I think that's funny. Yeah. We should start doing our own honeypots, like Project Veritas or James O'Keefe Media Group style. Just go into D.C., put a little Tinder account up, and you'll find, oh, hey, maybe a politician likes you. Maybe somebody that works in government likes you. I mean, how do you think they pull this stuff off? Lines of crash out energy off Nancy Mace's. Yeah. Okay. It's probably fun. No one wants to roll with Abbott. Guys, it's so bad. The situation is so bad in Texas, I'm telling you. And I don't even think it would be a problem if they gave us better candidates. And that's not even a shot at Paxton. But it's like Paxton is now in this position where he has to carry the weight for the entire GOP in Texas. Abbott sucks. Republicans don't like Greg Abbott. Nobody's going to vote for Greg Abbott. I guess that's how I'm trying to put this. There will be Republicans, there will be conservatives, there will be right-wingers that will go out. They say, I want to go vote for Paxton. Nobody feels that way about Abbott. Everybody's sick of Abbott. Texas is going to be a strange one to watch. I still think Paxton carries it for the Senate, but man, he has such an uphill battle. He's getting nothing from the GOP. Greg Abbott sucks. So you're not getting no help from the governor's race. Oh, boy. Valhalla is Himothy. Gideon Judges. Trump gives you zero closure on any of his psyops. It's coming. Arrests are coming. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Indictments are coming. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. We got them this time. Rabbit holes are actually rabbi holes. Have you guys been seeing these tunnel people in New York City, by the way? We're not even talking about those Orthodox Jewish groups or whatever that, that whole incident from a year ago. No, there's like these tunnel people crawling out of the sewers, and they're in like mole man outfits, and they have like the overalls and the helmets with the light. I'm wondering, is this some sort of like street theater thing, and they just go in there and then somebody films them crawling out? What the hell is going on in New York City? What in the hell is that? I love how it's Valhalla's fault that Trump's too cowardly and weak to indict Hunter Biden. Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's so weird. And you watch them complain about this stuff, and it's like, well, who are you complaining at? What, am I supposed to prosecute Hunter Biden? I mean, what are you talking about? Who's prosecuting Hunter Biden? What are you mad at people for having a conversation? And by the way, it's not like the Trump administration is giving them anything. What are you supposed to do? You're a member of the media? You're trying to make content? You're trying to generate interesting content, unique, original content? Hunter Biden makes himself available? Nobody's prosecuting him? You're not going to get... The Trump administration is only sending their people to allies, to loyalists. So it's like, what do you expect? Ryan Noceris. Nate and Owen is like Cap and Thor teaming up to avenge the alt media. Somebody meme that stat. The memes were out yesterday. Somebody did the Trump kissing the black cube meme. We shared that one on X. That was a great conversation with Nathan. Really enjoyed that. No username. Hit that thumbs up. O deserves it. Yes, thank you. Please give us a like. Give us a follow on YouTube. Really helps us grow. Appreciate that. T Bizzle. Owen, I'm happy for you and your solo success and where you've ended up today. Thanks for having Nate on. He's the best. Sup, Nate? Looking forward to your next stream with Jesse and the boys. It's really amazing. I had to recalibrate so much, not just from going independent, but like throughout all the different censorship things. So it's always strange. It's like, okay, now YouTube is the platform I can grow on. It's like, that's weird. But that's the reality, and you can find a lot of great alternative media on YouTube now, whereas X is just like, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I still like X, I still use X, I still think X is a great resource for news and information, obviously, but it's just like X has become slop. I mean, it is just slop, and I guess you understand why. It's easy for somebody to just go copy and paste something or go, put a 20-character post up or something. It's like it doesn't really take much thought, doesn't take much creativity. Whereas you're going to host a show on YouTube, you got to be able to fill airtime, do original content, actually be entertaining and original. Whereas X is just like people just post slop. It's like, boom, Trump did this. Bang, oh, Trump wins again. Like, oh. It's like, good Lord, man. Get Trump's balls out of your mouth. Holy smokes. It's like half of X is just pure slop. Just pure slopaganda. Took Owen's advice and saw Masters of the Universe. Funny, good action, and nice to watch something instead of the BS IRL. Any other recommendations? Well, we appreciate that. We do the movie recommendations at the end of every week. So we'll wait. I don't have one in mind right now. We'll wait. We always do movie recommendations at the end of the week, though. So I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. I mean, I guess I could tell you, yeah, well, you know what? Since you ask, I'll do this for you. If you like the Scary Movie franchise, and I think they've done, 5 or 6 now? I think the new one that came out, I guess, was 6. If you like the Scary Movie franchise, you will like the new Scary Movie. It was great. It was funny. A bunch of different belly laughs. I mean, they did it again. Scary Movie's done it again. And you know what was so strange about that is it had like a two-star rating on Amazon Prime Video. That's where I watched it. And had a 2-star rating. And I don't know, sometimes you can trust those ratings. Obviously not every time. And I had a friend that saw it, a friend my age, and she was like, oh, it was great. Oh man, we loved it. We love all the scary movies. So I was like, okay, I trust her judgment. And then the Amazon rating was 2.0. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I went and watched it. It was great. If you like the scary movies, they nailed it. They did it again. It was fantastic. Everything about it was great. They even had a bunch of original stuff. They had a bunch of throwback, nostalgic stuff. It was great. It was fun. It was funny. I really enjoyed it. And I'm wondering, it's like, who's giving this a bad review? And I'm thinking, is it just young kids that didn't watch like they don't understand what it is, like they don't understand the scary movie culture and delivery and humor. Is that why they didn't like it? Because I thought it was great. So there it is. If you like the scary movies, the new one that just came out, you can get it now digitally. Enjoyed it. Funny, fun, good time. I think if you like the scary movies, you'll definitely enjoy it. No more incumbent voting. One and done. Hey, that's one policy. That's one policy to approach the polls with, no doubt about it. Offensive war, abortion, Second Amendment, AIPAC are non-negotiable. Just know what you stand for. Know what you stand for. Know what you stand for, not who. Vance met Thiel 2011, joined Mithril 2016. NARYA funding 2020, then $15 million from Thiel to protect Ohio values 2022. Populist or Silicon Valley asset? Well, you know, you could be both. And I do think it's both. I understand the zero tolerance, position on Vance. I'm not here to push back against that. I mean, I guess I would argue that Vance is a lot better than anything else right now that you look at as far as the Republican Party is concerned. Vance is the only one from the administration that at least pretends to have any idea where the average American sits and how they're feeling. Take that how you will. But yeah, I would say if Trump is the Israel candidate, Vance is definitely the big tech candidate, the Silicon Valley candidate. Doesn't mean he's not a populist. But that's why I think Vance is going to be smart enough, or Vance's financial backers are going to be smart enough to say, hey, sit 2028 out. Don't even run in 2028. You don't want to be mixed up in it. You don't want the stink of the Trump administration to come and stick to you when you're running for president. You want to run clean of that if possible. That'd be my advice. And big tech can play the long game. They're not like the Israeli lobby that doesn't have time. They got to move now. Big tech can play the long game. So I think he can be both. I think he can be a big tech asset, but I think he can also be a populist. And if you're looking at it through a purely pragmatic lens, you might end up in a position where Vance is just by far your best option. And then you can say, well, I have zero tolerance for Vance because of X, Y, Z. Or, well, I know what I'm getting with Vance, but it's going to be better than I'm going to get with, Gavin Newsom or something. So I understand the concerns. I do. I understand the concerns. I understand the zero tolerance. I'm not quite there with Vance. I still think there's opportunity maybe with Vance, but we got to see what happens. Again, we'll get through the midterms, and then I think I have a better idea of what's going to shake down. Don't forget, Marion gave gave him that money right after Butler. Sus. The Marion Adelson money came in right after the assassination attempt. Yeah, kind of like all the money that poured into TPUSA after Charlie's assassination. Things that happen, just things that happen. Nothing on Thomas Crooks either. Yeah, nothing. Nobody knows anything about him. He just climbs up there and takes a shot. It's amazing, isn't it? Weaveland. I voted for Trump and have regretted ever since. I was hoping for a better America, but got nothing. A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel that way. I hear it all the time. Love Nate. Great collab. Thanks, JM Dog Patriot. Really enjoyed that. I need to get more of those independent guys on, by the way. Weaveland 01. In Valhalla, entities do not wonder. Yet all those that came over from the Valhalla channel, nice to have you here. One America News on Cox Spectrum. Tay-Tay, he's still reeling from the Fishback loss. He is. It's all right. It's just true. David, practice what you preach and have Alex Jones on. I'm sure David would have Alex on in a heartbeat. I have no doubt about that at all. Pollock is a shill. Can't stand him. Pollock did nothing but praise Pam Bondi. Clown. Giving him a hard time here. Support the Fourth Estate. Thank you, Owen Report. Z Arrow Effect. Thank you for supporting the Owen Report. This beta probably calls it contrails. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Fishback, stop. What is that? I can't read that. Tay-Tay. What is he doing? Somebody grab his phone. He's got fumble fingers happening over here. He does. Pollock blocked you on X. Oh, I get why people do the block. I do. I'm never going to do it. I've never blocked anybody. I never will. I get why people do it. I consider, if you block somebody, I consider that a loss. I do. I consider that waving the white flag. It's weird. People really utilize that block button, don't they? Nobody. Who's the number one blocker? Bongino or Levin? I mean, that's 1 and 2. Ivan, I love Valhalla, but the Owen Report is number 1. Great collab. Thank you. Abbott approved $26 million flock cameras. DeSantis is against flock cameras. I have that in my flock stack. I have both of those things in my flock stack. And yeah, DeSantis, I think DeSantis is building his case very subtly for 2028 is what I see. Very subtly. And there's a reason why he's not endorsing Byron Donalds. And that's part of the reason. But I'll get more into that. And the Abbott flock camera situation, guys, this thing got really weird in Texas. Again, I'm gonna push this off till tomorrow's coverage. But the flock camera news about Abbott in Texas, this thing got weird. Like, there's like an all-out attempt to bury that story and deny that it happened. So I don't know. There's something weird going on with that. Sam White, get Dane Wigington, geoengineering website founder. You know, I like Dane. And I interviewed Dane regularly for years. My problem is Dane, you know, if you go back and listen, according to Dane, we're all dead. You know, Dane was like the right-wing patriot, MAGA, conspiracy theory version of the left wing's climate change is going to kill them all. So I like Dane, and I think his data and I think his research is directionally right. And when it comes to weather modification and manipulation, he's got the information. But the problem is the conclusions that he's reached. I mean, you can go back and watch the interviews that I used to do with him regularly from years ago. And Dane was basically making the argument that the planet's dead in 5 years if we don't stop it. Well, 5 years has passed, the planet is not dead. So it's kind of like the opposite side where it's like the left climate change fanatics use fake data and fake analysis and all the fake stuff to claim their argument about man-made climate change. And then Dane uses actually the real data, like the real stuff that they're doing, but then he reaches the same conclusion. And neither one of the conclusions end up happening. So I like Dane, but it just becomes this issue of he kept coming on saying it's all going to be, we're all dead in 2 years. We're all dead in 5 years. This is going to cause the planet to collapse, all this stuff. And it never happened. And so it just kind of gets to the point where I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But I like Dane. I used to interview him all the time. And I think he comes from a better place directionally than the left-wing version of the climate alarmist. But he's kind of he's kind of a climate alarmist. He's dogging Bilzerian. I can't take this. Well, what do you expect? Your logo, wisdom tooth, and flosser, far-reaching. What am I missing here? Wisdom tooth and flosser, far-reaching. Somebody want to explain that one to me? FAGA is clown world first. Brado Jacko. Pollock, tons of anti-Trumpers, anti-MAGA are supported by Trump. Going against Trump isn't why they destroyed Massey at all. GOP does zero for MAGA. Yeah, that's the whole bait and switch where you have like the Levins and the Shapiros that were never Trumpers, and now they're the hardest core MAGA supporters. Maybe you throw Vance into that as well. I don't know. Vance has at least offered an explanation, whereas with Shapiro and Levin, it's literally just about war. It's literally they didn't like Trump because he wouldn't start wars. Now they love Trump because he will. Bro likes watching America get cucked in the corner. A lot of those. A lot of those. What an absolute clown. Boy, Pollock getting it's heavy today. We've always been at war with Oceania and Iran. That's right. And we've never been at war either. And it's not a new war, but it's not a war at all. Red or blue, they both work for you-know-who. That's who controls the Congress. We're super engaged in dispensing both sides. I'm telling you guys, 2028 is going to be a different world. It's going to be a different world. The post-Trump world is going to be a different world. Nobody is even remotely connecting how this is going to go down, especially if the Democrats win the midterms. Then it's going to be all-out chaos. I mean, you could claim if the Republicans maintain Congress that it'll be, you know, we won't like the results of it, but it'll at least probably be smoother sailing into the post-Trump world. If the Democrats win the Congress, it's going to be pure chaos. as we head into the post-Trump political world. Pure chaos. Nothing to flip when both sides are the same. Don't agree with anything David said. Brandon, Lark Mevin is retarded. He says if you reject Judaism, you reject Christianity. I'm pretty sure it says if you reject Jesus, you reject the Father. I can't believe he thinks he's relevant. Well, it's all propaganda. And then Ben Shapiro said something similar. I have this in the stack too. I probably should have played this one today for the timing of it, because just remember, we played that Christopher Hitchens clip yesterday. And then Ben Shapiro says something on his show. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to do it. We're out of time for today. But just keep in mind that clip we played of Hitchens yesterday. And then we're going to play something that Shapiro said. And it's just like, wow. What Hitchens said in the 90s is still, everything about it is true. Everything. And Shapiro literally to a T presents it. It's wild. I'll clarify. I respect David's views, but don't necessarily agree with his take. But he was a good guest. Well, David is a good guy. And I see that too. Like, I did the debate with Adam King the other day. And he gets the same stuff. People are like, why would you talk to Schroyer? You know, he's this, he's that. It's like, hey, guys, I can disagree with people politically and remain amicable. It's very important to me. I've always said that. I've always maintained that position. I've always said that, and I'll always practice that. And what's better than a good debate amongst friends? Thoughts on Spider-Man versus Jake Lang? No. I will say that's a pretty wild image of the Spider-Man running and jumping punch of Jake Lang in the face. That is a wild image. Look, I don't know. Is Jake a true believer in politics? Is Jake, you know, is he genuine in whatever it is he's attempting to do? Is it something else? I don't know. I don't want to be involved with any of it. And the reason why, it's like, I'm not even telling you what to think about Jake or what he does. I don't have any thoughts. The answer is no. I don't have any thoughts. It's just like another thing that happens in politics to me that is kind of irrelevant, quite frankly. It's like, what do you expect? There's a reason why they do this. They want to draw the attention. They want to get the hubbub. They want to get the big protest and the violence and everything, and then get the viral video. So it's like, whatever. It's just another thing that's inconsequential. To me, it's just like, this administration, and specifically this 2 years, was supposed to be all about results in D.C. That's what this whole thing was supposed to be about, was results in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, it's like, why would I go back out and start protesting again? So what? So somebody can come up and shoot you? So somebody can come up and punch you? So somebody can come up and arrest you? It's like, this is everything we fought for 8 years, we're supposed to develop results in these 2 years, and they're not. So it's like, I just don't get the point. Like, it's like, what are we doing out in the streets doing all this crap? I don't know. I don't really think about it. We're going to make blocking great again. You should be working for Bongino. What's your take on Spencer Pratt? Not much. I think it's odd how he kind of just laid down after the stolen election. It's very strange after the hard fight that he made, and then he just laid down. And now it looks like he's more interested in becoming like some sort of a GOP mouthpiece or even some mainstream media network guy. We'll see where it all ends up. I don't think the Spencer Pratt story is done. Maybe he's done as far as California is concerned. But he's either going to get a job in network news or maybe get involved in GOP politics at some point. Your logo on Rumble that needs a car sticker, $2 a month. The Owen Report logo, we need to make it into stickers. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. We try, guys. We try to do it all here. We're a very small team. We try as much as possible. That's why, hey, grow, guys, help the show grow. Help the show grow. Help the channel grow. Support the sponsors. Support the show. And that's how we can slowly but surely get all of these things done. And right now, helping us grow the YouTube channel is the best way to do that. But as you know, we have priorities. We have a list of priorities here in the first year of the Owen Report, which just a couple months away now. I guess less than 2 months away from the year anniversary of the beginning of the Owen Report. So we'll look at some of the metrics after the first year. I think we'll be very happy with most of those things. But, yeah, if you want to see the show grow, if you want more products at owenschroyer.store, if you want us to be able to turn around proprietary products faster than, say, months like it took us to develop Crash Out. We're in the process of developing a sleep support formula right now. Follow the channel on YouTube, support the show, support the sponsors. You can buy the merchandise, you can buy Crash Out, but that's how we help it grow. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, we got to close out. Got to call it a day. We'll be back. 21-hour break. Same time, same channel tomorrow. What do we got? I got some bonus thing. Oh, I got Brian Shapiro. Before the Owen Report, I'll be going on with Brian Shapiro for about an hour, and then immediately after that, starting the Owen Report. So a little extracurricular tomorrow if you're on the lookout. God bless, Godspeed. We'll see you then.